Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 201. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and I finally did it. I finally managed to do what so many of you have been thinking about, what I've been working so hard on, and what's taken a couple of years, but finally we're without Johnny V. Right, Johnny? Right, exactly. In all seriousness, Johnny V is not here tonight. He's not joining in on the action. Instead, it's going to be just me. And it's probably going to be a somewhat shorter podcast. I'm actually coming to you from my phone using YouTube Live. I'm in the studio, of course. I'm at Johnny V's house. But Johnny V and his wife and his two children are all out at a family function that I believe benefits children with special needs and has a charitable contribution and component to it and all this other stuff. So just me tonight, just Johnny V. So, just me, no Johnny V, as I see a few of you logging in. So please bear with me for a few moments. I'm going to do my best to keep track of the message board. I want to make sure that you guys can hopefully hear everything just fine. We're not going to have Dynamite. He's actually told me that one of his children, his daughter Edith, not feeling well. So he's going to be tending to Edith, and he's not going to be joining me. And quite frankly, it was going to be almost impossible to have him anyway, due to the fact that we're going on a significantly scaled back approach for tonight's show. But if you have questions, if you have anything you'd like to talk about, tonight would be a great night for it because I'll be able to do a little bit more interacting. I've got a few agenda items and some topic, if that's a word. I think it is. I think it's a good word. All right. So, of course, welcome. 201. Last week we celebrated our 200th. We even had a special cookie cake that was we'll just continue to keep doing things, well, unless Johnny V's gone. We're also already talked about what we'll do for our Patreon supporters because we love and appreciate you guys so much. If we'll talk about it, but either I'll do a special drawing potentially tomorrow, which would be also a really quick little video. Just go on, give you guys a drawing, or we'll do 2 Patreon drawings next week. So that's exactly where things are at on that. All right, let's get to a few of the agenda items. I'm guessing you guys are going to have some agenda items as well that you'll want me to talk about, maybe, or recap. But I have a few of my own, believe it or not. Also, let me clarify. I didn't know for sure if I was going to be doing this alone until about 15 or 20 minutes ago. We were kind of on the fence. He said he might make it back in time. He said he might not. He said ultimately just a few minutes ago that he wasn't going to be here. So I said, okay, I'm going to go this route. So that's why we've got what we got. And I'm excited to do so. So let's start with the all too easy and all too obvious Disc Golf Pro Tour event this last weekend. I would love to know how many of you tuned in, how many of you watched, enjoyed it. Of course, I expect that plenty of you watched it in the post-production, thanks to our friends over at Jomez and also CCDG. I want to thank CCDG for their assist with the whole previews and working with us in the Disc Golf Pro Tour to be able to give you the whole previews. Steve Dodge coordinating all of that, so thank you to them. So hopefully you've seen all the action there. Literally minutes before I went live here on the show, I also released the women's footage in the condensed version. So the 1 hour-ish or the 55 minutes that you saw that took place just before we went live with the men, it's all out there in, like I said, 50 to 55 minutes for the women for round number 1. We had some audio issues because we were fighting with the internet over there at that time. So due to those audio issues, Ladies of the Chains actually stepped up and graciously did commentary over round 1 again for us. So if you want to watch round 1 from day 1, that's out there, of course, on the Smashbox page. If you would like to watch it again with a couple of the editing errors fixed, along with some fresh or different commentary, then you have it. Then you have it all available to you as well. And again, Ladies of the Chains did that for us, and we got that put up just today, or literally just seconds before I went live. It's on the Pro Tour channel, and it's on the Disc Golf Guy channel. Watch it on my channel. I don't know why, just because I like you guys. And watch it on the Pro Tour channel. That'd be great of you. The plan is tomorrow to have the FPO round 2 up with hopefully the commentary from what was done on site. And then the next day would be round 3 with that commentary from what was done on site as well. All right. And I'll tell you, it's a little weird and a little more challenging than normal. I see every single comment that rolls in, half of which I can read and pay attention to, most of which I can't. So I'll do my best for you guys. So let's start with the Utah Open, though. Let's start on the women's side. What an incredible battle that took place. Many of you already know that in 2017, there was 5 competitors. Ultimately, Paige had a family emergency. Paige Pierce, that was. She ended up withdrawing from the event. She wasn't there for the end of it. But Katrina Allen and Jessica Weiss, round 1 last year, they tied. Round 2 last year, they tied. Round 3 last year, they tied. So they went into a sudden death playoff. First hole, they tied. Second hole, they tied. Third hole, the playoff was broken, and Jessica Weiss was ultimately your champion. Great battle. Everything. I mean, everything you would want. It was a great battle, and Jessica comes out as the champion. This year, opening round, what happens? More tying. I think it was with 2 overs. I'm not real good with looking at numbers and stuff, but I believe it was with 2 overs during the first round. They opened up the first round tied, and then second round, third round, obviously things changed up a little bit. And when it was all said and done, through a very, very exciting final day with Lisa Fakis right there in the mix, along with Paige Bjerkis right there in the mix. I mean, it was truly any woman's game at one point, any woman's title to go take. When it was all said and done, Katrina Allen, ultimately your champion. So congratulations, Katrina. She played really well throughout the weekend. She talked about her strategy in a final interview that I did with her, just saying to go out and realize that pars weren't bad. And there's a lot of places to make mistakes. And ultimately, she just wanted to play within herself, play within her game, and see where that shook out. And that puts her number 1 on the podium. So Katrina Allen, congratulations. As she just posted tonight, she said she won an A tier a few weeks ago, won a national tour then at Beaver State, which I also saw, and then she wins this Disc Golf Pro Tour event. So three very solid weeks in a row. And if you want to start talking about is Katrina Allen back, be on our podcast. She said, well, maybe there's Wi-Fi on the plane. But nonetheless, we hope she travels safely. So many other players are heading over to Finland. It's for the tourney. Tourney Open in Finland. Some players are going to be making a 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 week stint of it. They're going to make a longer trip out of it with a number of events coming up. And I'm not sure who's coming back almost right away. I'm guessing not too many. But they are over there for the Tourney Open in Finland. So let me touch on that real quickly. Well, I'll come back to that later. So on the women's side, again, Katrina Allen, your champion. A lot of people got to see more in depth, see Paige Bjerkis. Not every single person is familiar with Paige. She's been around for the game for quite a long time. Her mom, Noemi, and her dad, Doug, 2 great ambassadors, 2 amazing individuals and humans. Doug, TD of the Year, and runs and is officially the tournament director for what was the largest tournament ever in hosting the Glass Blown Open this last year. He works for Dynamic. Paige works for Dynamic. Her mom now, Noemi, works for Dynamic. So it's truly a Frisbee family over there. And so seeing Paige on that card, on the featured card, and then the lead card the next 2 days, you can't help but love her easygoing spirit, her bubbly personality, and just the fun-loving time that she has out there. So I think that was great that a lot more people got to see her and got to know her a little bit better. Because we're used to seeing the other 2 or 3 women that are on that card. We see them week in and week out, but everybody got to see Paige, and I thought that was also incredible. And then Paige and Amy on the final day stepped in and did the live commentary for us on the women's side. So thank you to them for graciously doing that. That was awesome. I want to thank Danielle Charlier, who has been helping coordinate the women teams that we've been having doing the commentary each of the days. And I think we're going to continue with that method as long as internet allows for us to do so. So thank you to all of the teams. thank you to Danielle, and thank you to the Pro Tour for making that all happen. Let's head over. And also, I think certainly worth noting, so I think there was, again, originally 5 women that signed up for and were at the event last year in Utah. And then it dipped down to being 4 women. I think my numbers are right there. I'm just going to make stuff up. This year, I think at least at one time, there were 14 women registered. And what that really says to me is you're talking about, 300% growth from one year to another. And second year on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and just an amazing venue, a great place to play. Every single person that goes to that event will tell you that Jade Sewell and Rob Olin and all of the Utah Open crew and staff have nothing but the best intentions to provide the best possible experience for our players. There are very few events out there that I feel like cater, and I'm not going to say, well, I'll say spoil, cater and spoil our players the way the Utah Open does. So put it on your list. You've seen the beautiful, majestic views and the mountains and everything else that's so gorgeous about Utah. But if you're looking for an event where you are certainly treated like a professional disc golfer and then some, the Utah Open is your stop. So tip of the hat, if I was wearing one, to Jade and to Rob and the Water Dogs and Jim and just everyone. There is clearly, like every event, there is a team of people that make it what it is, and they're just knocking it out of the park. And then they very graciously always ask afterwards, hey, if there's anything we can do or anything we can improve upon, we want to hear that as well. And that's great. I don't want to say I wish every tournament could be like that, because what they do is just, it's so far above and beyond. I would never expect every tournament to be able to uphold those types of standards. But when you go to a place that treats you so well, they treat the staff, they treat the volunteers, the players, every piece of the puzzle, like they treat everyone so well, and every player will tell you that. So again, hats off to you guys. Some really good stuff there. I'm going to use a mouse that's not connected to my computer, so that's not so bright on my part. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a look. Of course, UDisc Live out there. Many of you followed along throughout the weekend and watched the action there if you weren't watching on some of the video. Interesting to see Katrina Allen had 1 birdie during her final round, as did Paige Bjerkes. Katrina ultimately then had 3 bogeys, but just that 1 birdie on the second hole. But she had 14 pars, and she ended up shooting a 60. So she went 60, 62, and 60 for a 3-stroke margin of victory. 182 was her total score. And tying for second was Paige Bjerkes and Jessica Weiss. And then in fourth was Lisa Fakis. And making a charge, I think near the end is what I saw, was Kona Panis, finishing strong. We've seen her have a few really good performances out there. And wow. And she even actually finished with a double bogey. But she was 4 strokes ahead of Colleen Thompson. Colleen also was in on the commentary, so thank you, Colleen. Colleen finished in 6th place, Ellen Widboom in 7th, and then last year one of the faces that we saw out there was Amy Bilodeau, finished in 8th. So congratulations, thank you. You guys were awesome. All right, let's going to move over to the men's side. I'm going to take a quick look over here at UDisc. Oh my goodness, look at the birdies. If that wasn't the story of the day, I don't know what was. There was Sunday's conditions, unlike Saturday's, Sunday's conditions were gorgeous. There was, of course, bright, sunny, blue skies. It was gorgeous outside, but the winds were way down, considerably less than the previous day. The previous day, to put that in perspective, the previous day, Ricky Wysocki shot a 2 under par. I know most of you are thinking, I can shoot 2 under par on almost any course in the world. Ricky Wysocki shot a 2 under par during Saturday's round. He comes back 20 some hours later and shoots 12 strokes better to take Dana Might's course record away and to shoot a 14 under par. So that has to tell the story largely as to the weather conditions. Ricky Wysocki, him and Paul McBeth, 2 best players on the planet, go out and Wysocki shoots 12 strokes better. Macbeth, I have to even look. I can't even remember what he shot during round two. Round two, Macbeth shot a +2, which is so crazy to think. Someone like Paul Macbeth. Paul Macbeth shoots a +2 on Saturday, comes back out, and then shoots a -12. So he shoots 14 strokes better. So if that doesn't tell you the story right there, I don't know what does. You can have a bad round and you can improve by 3 or 4 or 5 maybe for the next day. To shoot 14 strokes better tells you, A, you're playing well, and B, there were some crazy conditions on one of the 2 days. Crazy good, crazy bad, whatever. That's just truly incredible. As Rob on the board says, that's 26 stroke swing for those two players right there, which is just insane. You would never, ever think that. I remember asking Ricky during the final interview, and I said, Ricky, if I would have told you that you would have a -2 during this weekend and you would win the tournament, what would you, he said that would be crazy. Like, you would never anticipate that whatsoever. So, Wysocki shatters. We gotta go big with this. He shatters Dana Vichy's course record. I talked to Dana today, and Dana said, I know I was a little disappointed. I had my fun in the sun. I had my year, but unfortunately, when it was all said and done, Dana's course record not only put into jeopardy, but then ultimately lost in the final round of Jeopardy. Lost. Alex Trebek handed it off to Ricky Wysocki. So Ricky Wysocki, your new course record holder at 14 under par for that final round. And to put that in perspective, Eagle McMahon shoots a 12 under. Paul Macbeth, like I said, also shot the 12. Anthony Barella shoots a 10 under. Kevin Jones comes back strong with a 9 under. And then those were all of your hottest scores that took place out there. So pretty incredible and quite a change from what we saw the other day. From what we saw out there on Saturday. And Austin Hannum shot a 6 under, but he started with 2 bogeys, and then he finished with a bogey. So clearly he was on pace for a pretty solid round in between those. Just the bookends are what got him. As I like to tell Johnny, that's why you play all 18. And whether he's here or not, I love to tell the story about Johnny, who sometimes, I would say infamously, likes to come in from rounds and then sometimes say things like, just those 3 holes got me, or those 2 holes. And that's true. You could have 2 bad holes, and I understand that. And I always like to reply with, that's why you play all 18. All right, doesn't matter. I'm going to quit picking on Johnny V. Anthony Barella, had it not been for hole 18 a couple times this weekend, he would have finished about 4 or 5 strokes better. He struggled on 18 a couple of the rounds, but Anthony Barella's 10 under was very exciting to watch on the live feed as well. So that's from UDisc. So again, your champion, now your 2-time champion at the Utah Open, Ricky Wysocki, again, 25 under par. He best Eagle McMahon by 4, who shoots a 21. Paul Macbeth with a -20, and then distancing themselves, off in a distance, was 4th place and beyond. Austin Hannum, who we saw featured along with Joel Freeman, they finished at 15 under. Anthony Barella at 14, James Conrad at 14, Kevin Jones, Grady Shue, and Drew Gibson all rounding out the top 10. So pretty cool to see. Yes, Anthony Barella also aced hole number 18, as many of you had heard about. Barella aced hole 18, I believe, in the second round. Yep, because in the first round he for'd it, and in the third round he for'd it. So he aced it in the second round. Paige Bjerkest aced hole 18 in her practice, warming up in the morning. So unfortunately that doesn't count for anything. Big Germ during the final round, which was not recorded because he was not on those recordable cards. Big Germ aced hole number 3 or 2. Which was it? You guys know. I think it was hole 3. Yeah, hole 3 at 405 feet. He aced hole 3 during the final round. Congratulations to him. And then Sias Elmore, who you saw on SportsCenter, hole number 14, I think 235 feet. Bounce aces it with a thumber. We could argue all day whether you call that a skip ace or a bounce ace. but it bounced in after he threw a thumber, and then that landed him as number 3 on ESPN SportsCenter Top 10 that night. And congrats to Jomez. They, of course, had a great throw and a great catch that were then featured on SportsCenter. So very cool to see. Now, and we also happened to catch it, as some of you know, and we, of course, know that that's one of the challenges to us being live. We saw and heard that Macbeth was playing really hot, and so what we did is we had one of our cameramen, Chad, who's normally on the catch camera for our throw and catch on our live feed. Chad was actually, and we talked about it even the night before, knowing that Macbeth was on that second card, we said, hey, we may need to pull him away from the lead card at some point, have him head over to the second card so we can kind of keep an eye on what's going on, because we all know at one point it was very conceivable that Paul Macbeth could come in with the hot round and or the lead, and to not have us being able to watch it live would have been a downer. So Chad had pulled away on a couple different holes near the back 9. I want to say starting around like 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then as he was really just getting into position to watch 14, that's when he was filming Macbeth's card. The card behind us, the lead card, I think, was also just getting ready. So we cut over to Chad, and within moments of us cutting over to him, Chad Inman, our cameraman, got the ace from Justin Elmore as well. So super happy, awesome to see. You just can't draw that stuff up. That was great. And it was just kind of dumb luck that we were able to turn and see it live as we did. So very cool. And congratulations, Sias. I think anytime any one of our players gets on SportsCenter, like, I don't know how that feels, obviously, and I probably never will. It's got to feel pretty damn cool to always have, that clip or that recognition that you could show, be it your grandparents, your parents, your family, anyone. It's pretty darn cool. So congratulations to him, and congrats, of course, to all the other aces. But if it ain't filmed, it didn't happen, right? Is that what they say? So that's what we saw, and of course, some of the talk that comes of this weekend's conversation. When you're looking at the stats and the details from the weekend, you have to start thinking about, you don't have to think about, but one of the things that jumps off the page is that you see Ricky Wysocki busted out at what was considered an 1100 rated round this last weekend. So what I was going to do is see if I could pull up all of the ratings, because I was pretty curious myself. There we go. Utah Open presented by Prodigy. And many of you know, thanks to the PDGA, if you're a PDGA member, your ratings were likely updated today, depending on when you last played rounds and if everybody got stuff in for you correctly. But everyone's PDGA should have been updated today if you're a PDGA member. So we got that going on for you. And actually, I didn't look at any of our top players. Maybe I'll do that in a moment. Final round, Ricky Wysocki, unofficially, now this could certainly change, but it probably won't. PDGA unofficially rated at an 11.06. So 1100 rated round, lots of talk. People are like, oh, is this the best round we've ever seen? And is 1100 the greatest ever? And it's by far not. It's obviously an amazing round. But there have been lots of other 1100 rated rounds out there. So, but very cool. And I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I'm just saying that's happened before. Eagle McMahon and Paul Macbeth's final round rated 1089, and that's some pretty ridiculous golf. All right, let's take a quick look and see that Ricky's rating. Not going for any alliteration there. Ricky's rating has moved now to 1044 as of today. And this is the first time I've honestly even looked, because I don't really care much about ratings. I think they're great. I'm a proponent of them. I'm a fan of them. I just don't care about them that much. So, Ricky, 1044 rating today, as of today. So we'll take that. And in comparison, let's take a look. Paul Macbeth. Any guesses? Anyone know? Did you guys look today? 1044. So I find that to be pretty coincidental. That's pretty crazy. So both of them still rated 10, or now rated 1044. Eagle McMahon, again, any guesses? Wow. Eagle McMahon rated 1042. So that's ridiculous. I'm going to go ahead and say that. That's ridiculous. Another thing I want to do quickly, as you guys are holding there so patiently, I want to take a quick look and see also then where we have Simon Lazat's rating. He was previously rated, I believe, 1037, and his rating actually went down to 1036. So, super quick glance at it. That's all I'm going to do. Oh, but I do want to go look as well. We're going to head over and take a look because we've known that Paige Pierce might be on that, could possibly be the hunt for the first ever 1,000 rated woman. She's been, I believe, rated as high as 978. I think I even bought a supporter disc to say as much. Paige Pierce, as of today, now rated 976. So I believe that means her rating went down 2 points if her last one was in fact 978. So nonetheless, congratulations. I see a bunch of ratings. If you got a rating today, post it on the board. I likely won't read it out loud, but post it on the board. I'd love to see Tim, one of our Smashies. Lots of guys jumping up and down. Some people saying it could be better, could be worse. It could be all of those things. All right, I'll recap quickly. Utah Open, amazing. The staff, the crew, Rob, who's out there, Jade Sewell, just everyone, and the Water Dogs and Mulligans and Toad's Fun Zone. Utah Open is an amazing place to be. The Disc Golf Pro Tour has also knocked it out of the park with partnering and being there and having that as a facility on the tour. It's a very symbiotic relationship, and it's awesome. And I enjoyed every minute of being there. I think all of our cameramen did, and our staff and crew did. Thank you, Utah. Thank you, Utah Open. Mike Mildog, I can't forget him as well. Just awesome place and lots of good things going on out there. So if you ever have the chance to go there, visit, play there, and find any way to support them, please do exactly that. All right. So that's Utah Open. I think that's about all I have on there. If I was a numbers or a stats guy, I'd probably bring up DGPT and then talk really briefly about where we see the standings. Oh my gosh, just a few clicks away. And sure enough, I'll quickly recap on the fly. Ricky Wysocki, 388 total points, has him in first place on the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Paul Macbeth, maybe no surprise, he's sitting in second place with 355 points. You could probably guess. Eagle McMahon in third place. And then Drew Gibson, Garrett Gerthy, James Conrad, Jeremy Colling, Nate Sexton, Eric Oakley, and Colton Montgomery. Those guys round out your top 10 on the men's side. Also, she's missed an event, and she's only not won San Francisco. So with that, Paige Pierce is your women's leader on the Disc Golf Pro Tour side of things. She's got 380 points. Is that out of a possible perfect 400, I'm guessing? 3 firsts and a second. Katrina Allen, with that first place, moves her into second place with 370 points. And Jessica Weiss, 341 points. Lisa Fakis, 330 points. And then falling off the pace because she was not in attendance, it would be Sarah Holcomb. So those are your stats and your updates for the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings as of right now. Of course, if you want more information, head out and check out dgpt.com. All right, so there you go. I'm going to move over now. Did I have other topics in mind? Yeah. One of the things I want to talk about quickly, we mentioned that this weekend is the tourney, and I received an email from one Matt Kruger over at UDisc, and he wanted me to read, or he wanted to provide us with a little bit of information, and I'm going to hopefully be able to do just that. And I want to read it for you because normally I would screw it up. UDisc, so sorry, let me get there 1 second. So here's some information. This weekend there'll be live scoring, and he again spells it out, tourney, from Sipoo, Finland. Paige, Kat, Ricky, Barsby, Philo, Seppo, Devin Owens, Vanessa Van Dyken, and some other household names will be playing. It's the biggest tournament in Europe and we'll have live and post-production coverage, which makes perfect sense if they're that big of an event. But they will have live and post-production. They pushed the first round's feature card back, so it will air at a nice time in the U.S. They will tee off at 8:30 a.m. Central Time on Thursday. So skip work or bring your headphones, just like you would for any other Smashbox podcast or broadcast. And the featured card consists of 4 players from 4 countries. Oh gosh, why would I subject myself to saying Ricky Wysocki, Silver Lat, Linus Carlson, and Yanni Hirasmaki? Yeah, from Finland. We'll take it. Rated 1007. So those will be your first round feature card, which is pretty awesome. The question is, how do you how do you view the live coverage? Video live can be found on the Tourney's Facebook page, which I don't think I can link to at the moment. But it looks like facebook.com/Tourney Disc Golf, and that's TYYNI Disc Golf. So TYYNI Disc Golf, Tourney Disc Golf. Okay? And then, of course, on UDisc, you'll be able to just go out to UDisc Live as the event's getting going, and I would assume the opening page will bring you right to it. And then UDisc is pretty darn good, so they'll probably have a link to the live video also right on the UDisc Live page. So as usual, UDisc out there doing work for us all and making life better and awesome for everybody. So, and I want to extend, to follow that one brief moment, extend some form of accolades and congrats to UDisc. Seeing where they were 2 years ago, which was awesome, and then seeing them only continue to grow and evolve, and then I think blow past everyone's expectations and then some over these last 2 years, now to a point where earlier this year they had their first international event. Now they're doing another international event. And you're talking about really pretty much 2 guys, Matt and Josh, Daniel and a few others, certainly very helpful, but Matt and Josh are those brains, and I know that's why we had them on a show a few weeks ago. So really awesome. Chris Durkins is also saying that if you go to tourney.com, it will take you to their site as well. And again, I believe that's TYYNI. Go check it out. For those who don't know or are just tuning in, thank you guys so much for joining us. Of course, it's a Tuesday night. Things may not look or sound quite as good. I apologize. I'm no Johnny V, that's for sure. Johnny V at a family function tonight, actually over at Miller Park here in Milwaukee area. He's there with a charitable foundation and cause doing some stuff. So I'm still over at his house, and I decided just to throw up the cell phone and go straight live to our Smashbox page using that. So that's why you're seeing some things that are backwards and not quite the production value that we normally have. So maybe next time I'll just hack into the system and break everything to make it work. Maybe I won't. All right, so there you go. Tourney going on this weekend. Also, check out your areas for any of the next gen events going on. I know there's some qualifiers going on all around the country. Please make sure you go out and check in with those and get yourself signed up. I know they're extending some of the deadlines for when you can play in the regionals, and if you play in a qualifier, you can automatically go to a regional, and regionals can automatically go to the finals. So they're opening things up so that more people can get involved with it. So make sure you go out there and find Next Gen on Facebook or on their website, nextgendiscgolf.com. All right. Got the Tourney covered. Now, yeah, thank you guys. Chris says, Smashbox 201. This is the next century in Smashbox broadcast. Yeah, when you go straight phone, I mean, this is some high level stuff. But I mean, we got a backdrop. That's got to count for something, maybe. All right, so real quickly, I want to talk about where there seems to be a split, and I think that's the big conversation for the weekend. There's a split as to where players are going and what they're doing, and I know a number of players are going to be heading over to Minnesota. I've seen a number of players, including Will Schusterich. He's heading or has already arrived in Alaska. He's up there with his wife, Trish, and so there's people going everywhere. One place that you may find me, I'm waiting on official confirmation on that, is in fact the Minnesota Majestic, or now I guess apparently which just is referred to as the Majestic. Real quickly, I want to talk about a few details. Obviously taking place in Minnesota. It's going to feature 3 different courses, which includes Bethel College or University, which I've never been to, but I know they have some stuff going on. It includes Blue Ribbon Pines, which is the final round of the weekend. And then they're going to be starting at Kaposia Park, Kaposia being a 24-hole layout, as is Blue Ribbon Pines. And then Bethel will be an 18-hole course. You're going to, of course, see some pretty notable names there. You're going to see the likes of Cale Aviska, James Proctor, Alex Geisinger, Double G, Adam Hammis, AJ Risley, the disc golf boy, Charlie Goodpasture, Alex Russell, Paul Oman, Jordan Castro, and so on and so forth. So obviously a pretty solid field, and just real quickly looking at, looks to be about 15 or 18 players that are rated over 1,000 on the men's side. On the women's side, just like last weekend in Utah, we're going to have 14 women competitors. And I know I was talking to her just before she left, actually. Paige Bjorkis being one of those, along with Jessica Weiss, Sarah Holcomb, Holly Finley, Haley King, and Lauren Butler. So those are some of the names. Also, your co-commentator, along with Paige Bjorkis, in Amy Vrana, she will also be there competing. So very cool to see. Solid field, again, 14 women. And then we're going to also see, as I said, the return of Sarah Holcomb, who took the last weekend off from the Pro Tour. Holcomb currently rated 961 to Jessica Weiss's 941. So expecting a great battle. 3 courses, again, 2 24-hole courses and an 18-hole course. So plenty of golf, tee times, all that good stuff. And look for that. Locally, they're going to have Par Safe Productions, who has a great production value on their videos. I believe they've worked with them in terms of having video coverage. I'm not sure what their schedule is, what they're recording. I'm assuming it's going to be live, or I'm sorry, featured / lead card each day. And then, but I don't know what their release plans are in terms of when they're going to get them out. I spoke with a tournament director tonight, and if all systems are a go, it looks like I might be heading over there as well. And I'll pick something else to film. If you want to support that coverage, reach out to me and let me know. It's in my opinion, it's kind of bonus coverage for what I'm going to be trying to put together. But I'd love to go out there and do it. They got great golf, and obviously, as I just mentioned, a ton of great players. And then an event that we saw, also St. Louis Open. Sorry, that's another one that's being drawn to, of course, this weekend. They've got 144 players for their A tier, and they only have 27 Open men players, but they have 7 or 8 or 9,000 plus rated players, and that includes Bradley Williams, Nico LaCastro, Kevin Jones, Grady Shue, Lewis Bitney, Andrew Presnell, Colton Montgomery, and Zachariah Johnson. So all really good players, and then Nicholas Masters, who's just barely sub 1,000 as well. So, and on the women's side, a little bit smaller field, Jillian Ernst, Ellen Widboom, Courtney Cannon, and Tiger Borth. So that's what you're going to see on the women's side over at the St. Louis. King of the Hill, I'm excited to see what takes place there. We've got Nick Wood registered or listed on there, Chandler Fry, David Felberg, Brian Schweberger, Will Schusterich, Robert Lockwood. So it looks like it should be a really good time up there as well. I've attended the King of the Hill 2 years ago. Many of you saw that coverage, and it's awesome. It's also awesome that there's 22 hours of daylight. Well, if you're into that kind of staying up and working kind of thing. And then real quickly, I want to touch on the Red, White, and Boom. You're going to see that taking place this weekend. And this year it's a B tier, but I know it's got some pretty solid competitive play there in Drew Gibson, Patrick Brown, Matthew Blakely, Isaac McDonald, all a couple of the names. So that's taking place over in Dayton, Ohio area. Last year he went really big, had a big A tier. Him and I talked about it, and I think he was a little too aggressive. I think he just tried to take on so much to make a great event last year, and I think that he needed to ease into it. So he's looking to make things up this year and have a really good event as well. And I hope that everything goes smooth for them over there. And we may have some follow up coverage to that. So that's going to be taking place over in Dayton, Ohio. So what did I just say? 3 A tiers. And that B tier, and obviously dozens of other events, along with the tourney, all going on. So good stuff for sure out there. All right. I'm going to tell you, I don't have a lot of other stuff that I have to feel like I have to share, other than I mentioned a little bit earlier. Oh, how about the Mid America Open? Oh, I don't even think, why didn't that come up in the A tier information? Because it's funny, I've heard about it, and I think I also heard that I'm an idiot. There you go. Oh, there's more A tiers. Holy cow, they were hiding, because it took place this last weekend, and that's where I saw the Mid America. It was a really cool post. Some of you have seen it on Facebook. The Weatherman, during the weather, they had the Mid America Open logo out on the event, and I thought that was pretty cool. And yes, Shasta Chris, I did see this. Shasta Chris took down that event, and what a solid field. It basically, I feel like a ton of the people that may have been in Utah that weren't. Holy cow, I didn't even realize how solid that field was. So Shasta Chris was your winner, Cam Todd in second, Nico LaCastro in third, then George Smith and Ron Converse, a couple of age-protected qualifiers, Trevor Harbolt, who's running for PDGA board, Zach Melton, Jacob Henson, Coda Hatfield. So really solid competition taking place there in the 36-person field. Shasta Chris, who's eligible for Masters age, ended up winning it and won $905 for his efforts. And Courtney Cannon, Discraft sponsored Courtney Cannon, took first place over there, winning $336. Kimberly Gianola, one of the Ladies of the Chains co-commentators and super amazing woman, ended up in second there, along with Nova 6'4" Paulette. So perfect. It was a whole Ladies of the Chains ordeal over there. I didn't realize that. Oh my gosh, maybe I should do more research. All right, so that was going on. There's so many. Hickory Hills was going on. What is going on? Do we have to? I'll give you that. Andrew Marwed, Tim Barham, Kyle Williams, your top three over there. Oh, sweet. Alicia Grace Schaefer took it down in open women. Christy Moore in second, and Lindsay Moss in third. Cool. I didn't even get a chance to look at all these amazing results from the weekend. That's what Dana's for. Where is Dynamite on a night like tonight, huh? Over at the Tree Bash Open in Flagstaff, Arizona, also in open. Wow, winning $1,248. Mike Lassou, Jeremy Herr in second, Andrew Bohm in third. Pete Ulibarri, Paul's brother, ended up in a tie for fourth. Laura Aloco took down open women, and Sammy Keddington took down second place. And real quickly, I got to say, just by quick glance, this is the first time I had taken a look at the Tree Bash results. 4 women, and Laura Aloco, we'll go with that, PDGA number 104030. That's not a phone number. $439 for first place in a 4-woman field. That means there was some ridiculous added cash, which is awesome. Awesome to the event, awesome to her. And then Sammy Keddington, $245 for second place in open women out of a 4-woman field is very, very impressive. So Tree Bash doing some really good stuff out there. Bill Block and crew. I don't think I know Bill personally, but he clearly is doing things quite well. And also in Sula, I was at the Sula Open 2013, and your champion there this year ended up being Greg Barsby, even though you look like you're from maybe Norway. Johnny V's home. And that's not saying you're good looking, it's saying you're pasty.
I'm Nordic. Very Nordic.
Yeah, you're Nordic. That's a good term. Greg Barsby, your champion. He won $1,049 or 10 trillion. What were those? I don't even remember.
Krones?
No, I don't think they were krones. I forget my Norwegian conversions, but He won $1,049. So Greg Barsby with an international
I'm like
victory.
50% Norwegian. You'd think I'd know.
Orvin James in second place, and KJ Naibo in third place. And that's as far as I'll pronounce names. Philo took seventh. So, all right, real quickly, since we don't. Okay, well, Johnny V is here. Did the Brewers win?
They were up 5-1 when we left over the Kansas City Royals. Sorry, EMAC.
EMAC, and sorry, Dave Waitsbloom. Sorry, buddy. Sorry to hear that. So the Brewers might sneak out a win tonight. We'll see about that. As I was saying earlier, though, I don't have a lot more for you guys. I think we've recapped pretty much everything from Utah. We've recapped a number of the A tiers. It may have even set a record. I just don't know how many A tiers what do we have, 6 or 8 or 44 A tiers this last weekend? It was clearly a very busy weekend going on around the PDGA. Yeah. Holy cow, I didn't even see it. I apologize. Also, I want to quickly recap the 2018 Deaf Disc Golf Association National Championships. I'll quickly read down that it says Blue Mountain. Okay. Robert Huzar took first place, Jamie Clark in second, and Benjamin Lewis in third in a 9-person open field. And it ultimately looks like that was Mike Solt who ran that. Thank you, Mike Solt. And it looks like there were 67 players. I want to say that's probably the 10th or 12th iteration of the Deaf Disc Golf Nationals. Kent Schaefer, a gentleman from here in Wisconsin, I think was one of the front runners in helping that event get going many, many, many years ago, maybe more than 10 or 12 years ago. And I know it's traveled around the country a little bit. So thanks to Mr. Disc Golf, Mike Solt, who was your tournament director there. You have anything that you think I should be talking about?
No,
I covered Utah. I covered the Disc Golf Pro Tour stats, standings, and updates. Covered a bunch of other events. Talked a little bit about this weekend's stuff coming up in Minnesota, along with Red, White, and Boom.
Did you cover the size of Ricky Wysocki's cojones? Because
no, that's disgusting. I don't think.
Because frankly,
you get to work a block thing. Somebody's spamming us.
Nice. Because frankly, there were. Oh yeah, let's block that guy. Hide user from this channel. Because frankly, there were putts at the end of that round he did not need to go for.
Correct. So what Johnny V is talking about on hole number 16 being the one that first comes to mind. Hole number 16, Ricky Wysocki had, I'll say finally, thrown a decent shot. He threw way left during round 1. He threw way left during round 2 to the point where they were just really bad shots. Dixon Jowers had confirmed with him after round 2 and said, "Were you trying to throw over there?" And Ricky kind of scowled and said, "No, I just threw really bad shots. Shut up." And so round 3, Ricky throws a decent shot, which is in perfect position because all he needs is a 3 there.
Yep.
He's 70, 80 feet short. And he runs the putt on a mound over a bunker with bunkers left and right of him. And he cans the putt.
Because if he hits the front of the basket, there's a good chance he's going OB.
You hit, well, let's put it this way. If you draw any metal
that doesn't go in,
you're probably going OB.
Yes.
With that slope and the bunkers right there on the hillside. Any metal that doesn't go in is OB. And it didn't make any sense at all. And then...
if you think about it, if he lays up and screws it up...
He could go OB anyway.
He could go OB anyway. With his skill set, I can't say it makes sense for him to go for it, but there's a higher percentage of him going for it. And if you're going to possibly go OB either way, you might as well do it going for the basket.
That's one way to look at it. Well,
not the way I would have done it, but...
certainly an interesting decision by Wysocki. And then when Dixon had followed up with him and said, "Why did you run that?" He's like, I just wanted to be sure. He wanted to be sure the event was in hand, and that clearly, I think I said game, set, match, or goal, or I don't know what I yelled, but clearly the end of it for Ricky Wysocki as he put things to bed. I also I apologize. I need to back up because I saw it mentioned earlier, but I wanted to talk about the match play. And I don't know if they have it on the PDGA, so I'm going to take a quick look. I hope it is. maybe if I search for match play, not the bonus round.
No, I don't believe they have
All
it.
right, so they don't have it on the PDGA. The match play, let's go to Facebook. I'm going to do some, this is how you do all your good research. Usually somebody else can be talking while I'm doing research, but I'll go to Dynamic Disc. The match play winner was crowned. I know we had some conversations about that last week. He won 18 baskets. I saw his name earlier. He won
Lifetime supply of discs.
and a lifetime supply of discs, which
breaks
is
down to like $20,000 in discs, or
something ridiculous
Yeah.
like that. And I want to scroll down to make sure that I get it right. Come on, DD, on your site. Yeah, I know they had posted earlier. Paige Pierce International Action. Seriously, this isn't supposed to be this tough for me. Here we
There
go.
he is.
Congratulations, after a long pause, congratulations to Matt Whitlock from South Carolina for his win at the 2018 U.S. Match Play Championships. So, yeah, congratulations. Again, if it was a normal night, he may have been a very legitimate candidate, and I'll have to catch up with him at some point to have, and we could certainly talk to him. But talk about a ridiculous set of winnings, 18 baskets, and then disc for life. What's the exact stipulation on the disc for life? Is it like a $500 a year credit or something? Like, I don't know what the exact stipulation was, but it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was still perfectly fine.
Yeah, it equated to, I think, like $500 a year for 40 years or something, or $20,000 in credit, something along those lines.
Okay, so not too bad. Is that the one time when Dynamic Disc is like, man, if this guy picked up like darts or some other some other sport, we'd be okay with that if he just somehow lost interest in
the
disc golf?
future? Yeah, probably. That's probably the one guy that Dynamic Disc Golf thinks and says, maybe he'll lose interest.
Maybe he'll get a wife if he doesn't have one, and all of a sudden, all of his Tinder matches come up a little differently. Anyway, and honestly, I don't know. Matt's married, but you get the joke. So congratulations to him. That is pretty awesome. And I do want to make a kind of a very special or special to me announcement in that. I've been talking to Dynamic Disc, and it looks like the disc golf guy will have some action down, some video recording and interviewing and whatnot at the Dynamic Disc Junior World Championships this year. So if you're bringing your kid, and tell them to brush up on their interview skills, because I'm going to be out there grilling these kids. Like,
as you should.
There's another spammer. I'm going to be grilling them hard out there and making sure that they're all ready to go, because we need our next 14-year-old world champion to be all PR and media ready to go, as you can imagine. So looking forward to that. Thank you to Dynamic Disc for even the suggestion or offer to have me down there and be involved.
Chris Goodrich is saying he got $2,000 for the win, and then $500
per year
for like the next 19 years.
Wow.
Or 18, depending on how you count.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Of store credit.
Yes.
Okay.
Of DD store credit,
Yes.
not cash.
Yes, correct. And Luke Hainwell,
Which is funny because I heard, unfortunately, DD going out of business next year.
Yeah, time to file bankruptcy.
It's a big ploy.
Oh, we should start rumors. No, we shouldn't. Yes, and that honestly, Chris Durkins, if anyone needs a legitimate disc golf rich shirt or hat, it is definitely this Matt gentleman now. Like that's not real rich, but that's also better than your $88 ace pool.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, very, very impressive. So congrats to him as well. Did you see the weather forecast video that went viral? Yes, I did, Joseph. I talked about that a few minutes ago for the Mid-Atlantic Open, or I'm sorry, the Mid-America Open that took place. That was pretty cool to see that out there as well. All right, so a few more questions. Or I should say I can transition to a few questions. I'll pay direct attention to what we're seeing on the board. Cool One says, Terry and Johnny, bottom line opinion. What did you think of those Prodigy T2 baskets? Were they fair or honest?
From what I could see, and I didn't get a chance to actually touch the baskets like you maybe did when you were
Which I
out
actually
there.
didn't either.
They look like they caught very well from the center.
Okay.
It looked like they pushed a little. If on some baskets you might be able to get an upper right catch or an upper left catch. These baskets didn't look like that. The chains looked a little heavy, that it was pushing out anything that wasn't a true center putt. And they were, it seemed like maybe They were a little stiff if you hit them at the wrong angle. We saw Katrina Allen hit one.
On
She
hole,
was
yep.
on hole 15, 17, where she threw it up, and she just threw it too high, and it came right back at her face.
Yep.
So ultimately, I think the baskets looked good. I think they played well. They clearly catch a lot of stuff in the center. You just have to be, you have to kind of be like a Ricky putter. You have to be firm and right in the middle, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, I'll say I wasn't out there, and it's really tough. You know, a lot of people talked about spits throughout the weekend. Honestly, I feel like unless I'm out there seeing it or recording it myself, it's really tough to tell just how center or left or right, you know, and there's some angles that it makes it look like, you know, it was certainly a spit, and other angles, if I was maybe right there, I've been like, no, it wasn't at all. That was high left. That was high right, whatever the case might be. Of course, everyone's going to have a varying opinion on them. Some people may already put their company bias in before, you know, if that basket had another company's name on it, some people may be like, oh, I really like it. When I just think there's a general company bias that happens too.
That's true.
From any one, I don't want to say fanboy, but from any one fan of a company. Because if they peeled off the paint and put on some other company and you love that other company, maybe you wouldn't say those same things. Maybe you would. Of course, I'm sure some people give an unbiased opinion. But I'm just saying, I think some of that certainly feeds into it, and I think that's from one company to the next. You know, there's plenty of people that throw dynamic disc product that say the veteran basket's the best basket in the world. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying it's easy to have a company bias built in as well. So,
you think Matt Whitlock has a company bias now?
yeah. What would be curious to know is if Matt, and I need to catch up with Matt. I don't know what Matt's story is. I don't know if he was previously, you know, if he showed up with an all Discmania bag and then won that event, which would obviously be fine. I just don't know if I don't know any of his story, but I'll certainly have to look into it as well. So if that gives you an opinion, I couldn't definitively say, oh yeah, those spit a ton. I just wasn't in a good angle to make that claim. And if I felt like they did, because I had a good angle, I would certainly say it one way or another. But they seem to be firm. They seem to catch heavy or aggressive putts for the most part. And, you know, at what point are we going to say, well, we've said it a million times, you know, how fast is too fast when a putt comes in, and how slow is too slow, and are people that putt softly, are sometimes do chains push those back out? Some people have said that about a Mach X. I think some people have said that about the T2 or some of the Prodigy baskets. Every basket just catches slightly different no matter what basket it is. And I think they all have tiny pros and tiny cons from one to the next.
And I think that's what we've said it before, that's what makes part of a pro, learning part of the green. That's your green you need to work with, whether it's considered a fast green or slow green. I mean, we've got the slope of the ground, but you also have the basket you need to learn and make sure that you have a touch for it, because you can't go flying into them.
And that's exactly. Was it you, Chris Durkin? Someone had just posted about you don't care as long as they catch in their fair for all putts, and that's where I slightly disagree. Now, when you say your putt should be centered and go in, that I agree with. But if you know, I don't think someone that putts with a 45-degree hyzer should necessarily have it catch just as well as someone who putts perfectly flat.
See, and
versus somebody that putts with an Anheuser. I feel like
I disagree.
That's fine. You can be wrong again. We're starting off the news.
201. Johnny's right. Only because if you, like, those particular T2s look like they had like a spider type chain in the center of them, like a spider web, and Double G putts with a lot of hyzer, which would benefit him on these particular baskets because he's not worried about slicing through the chains. Now, if he hits him on the side, that is what it is. But he can feel more confident putting harder on these than he could a Mach 3, for instance, where he's afraid he might get some slice through the chains. And that's all part of knowing the basket. I've got no problem if these catch big monster hyzer putts better, because there's going to be baskets that don't. It's the only spit putts that really bother me are those dead center pole hits that come back.
That somehow then come back, or somehow slide straight through. They get on edge and then push it straight through.
Correct. But even then, I can't really complain because you knew what you're getting into when you walk on the course. You know you have the choice to change your putt up and try to loosen or lighten up your putt. If you can't do it, somebody else is going to, and they're going to take advantage.
I agree, and I think playing to the basket that you're on is something that's considered something that you should be considering. So we'll have him join, but just so everyone knows, again, one more time, that Johnny V was out earlier, which is why I ultimately was able to go live tonight, and I just did it from a phone as opposed, down from his basement, as opposed to using our full-blown setup. That's why we don't have our typical situation set up in here tonight. So just to clarify for everyone out there. The baskets were new. They were approved by the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I'm not sure where we'll see them again or where we won't, but they seem to do what they should do.
Yep.
And we can all talk about later as to just how effective they truly are or aren't. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions out there. Chris Young, I think you just joined us. Thanks for joining us. Brett, good to see you, buddy. Hope all is well out there as well. Country Disc Golf, I know he was out there filming this last weekend, and I know he's working on some stuff. So hope to see your footage. Let us know when it's posted so we can talk about it. Chris also asked, are you guys going to Europe? We have no ties whatsoever to being overseas for any of the events that are going on. I think the real question is Jomez doing anything
I haven't heard
international?
I haven't heard that they're going overseas. I can pull up their Facebook page.
I don't believe that they are for anything. They haven't posted anything about going overseas, unlike a ton of our competitors in the last few days. So
what there is though, live disc golf. Did you talk about that?
Yep, we talked about that for the
okay.
tourney. Yep, got that all covered. Tourney Open taking place. Check out udisclive.com. From there, click on that, and they'll probably have a link to the live video as well.
No overseas for Jomez. They're going to GLO next.
Okay, so next week. Ratings updates. I missed that, but Luke Hainwell, who's out on the board, I think he said he was traveling from Wisconsin. He was heading down to Emporia, and I believe he said pretty much the moment he got there, he was handed the $500 just for arriving, which is again pretty awesome. All right, Seth says there's a lot of factors in a missed putt: force, spin, delivery, angle, and more. I don't believe it's always the basket. I couldn't agree with you more.
100%.
Cool One says something about Conopiste and Idlewild. But again, Jomez and Central Coast and everyone else will be involved from the National Tour and the Pro Tour side of things. It doesn't look like any of those guys are going to be traveling internationally to the other events overseas. And yes, that is up next for us in terms of live. We'll be back with you next week. We're going to have our normal week, 4th of July, which I guess we should talk about that schedule. But then in terms of the actual golf, that's going to be taking place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the famed Toboggan Course. So look for that. The Great Lakes, the Discraft Great Lakes Open will be taking place, and we're going to be at the Toboggan Course. Many of you know and have heard of and seen the Toboggan Course pretty much solely from the USAM Nationals perspective over the last 8, 10, 12 years. I believe the last time the Toboggan Course was played from a professional side of things was, I don't think it was the 2000 Worlds. That's the last time I played it. Fun trivia fact or question. Which major manufacturer owner did I play the Toboggan Course? This should have saved this for next week. Did I play the Toboggan Course with? In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Now that I think about it, a little bit of smart Googling will find you the answer. But if you watch this week and you learn so much about Utah, not a great idea. I disagree, Bob. I mean, Utah trivia, I'm good with. I mean, what other? I guess my question would be: do you want just disc golf trivia? Do you want music trivia, history trivia?
Well, Utah trivia was kind of history trivia.
Well, yeah, okay.
I've got no problem with that because you're similar to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Similar to when you watch any sort of sporting event and they come in and out of commercial, you can almost always nail the sounder is a local band. When you're in Seattle, you hear Pearl Jam come on. When you're in Chicago, you'll hear maybe
Chicago playing?
Chicago. No, I don't have a problem with the way Steve Dodge is doing a lot of the than commercials, because as we've said, the way that we're doing the FPO first without having them cut in, it is creating a lot of commercial time. I would rather have that than another sponsor commercial.
Okay.
So I think that's fine. It's better than the alternatives.
Okay, so and here's what I'll follow that up with. I don't believe this to be the case, but let's just say it was. If we came back to you next week and said, you know what, we got to the bottom of it, we're giving you local trivia, and that local trivia came with a sponsorship from the Utah Visitors and Convention Bureau. The Utah Visitors and Convention Bureau said, you know what, we'd like to support this event. We'd like to give you $1,000 for the weekend, but we would like you to somehow involve the state of Utah. At that point, is it worth it? Or,
yes.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying having some kind of local flavor, I don't know. I guess I'm just all right with that.
I don't mind the local flavor. Yeah, disc golf trivia would be fine and nice, but I mean, what do you try to dedicate it to?
Is it last weekend's event?
What wasn't there? There was one of a disc golf trivia about the Utah Open winner previous to Ricky. Who was the winner previous to Ricky? I believe the answer was Yuli.
Yeah.
So there was a little disc golf trivia pushed in there as well, but Utah doesn't have a big disc golf past, so it's
correct.
It's not like you can pull up all these facts. So I don't know. I'm fine with it. I'll be curious to see where he moves from Utah now that we're going over to GLO, because GLO, that particular area, has a lot of disc golf history.
Sure, and that I think he should tie all the trivia to history than about the courses, and then pretty soon everybody will say, well, I don't care what was the first course in Michigan. Whatever it might be. If you're tuning in now, thank you guys for joining us. You're seeing us backwards on the screen because we're using my front-facing camera from my phone as opposed to the normal video setup with the whole production. So that's why you're seeing some things backwards, but thank you to our regulars that are in there and getting involved. Sorry, I missed whatever that last one was. This is an alternative Smashbox where everything is backwards. That's one way to look at it.
I still feel like I'm on the same side in that picture, though.
Yeah,
so,
which is kind of cool that it still does it that way.
I mean, as a mirror would do, but
man, I'm just so confused.
Trippy.
Yeah, man, like that Utah.
do useless trivia like what is the literacy rates of Utah? Literacy rates of me is very little right now.
Yes. All right. If anybody else, if you've got questions, we can take those. Otherwise, we're going to be calling it sooner than later here. 94%. As you get now, look how smart you guys are that you learned what the literacy rate over in Utah is, which is, if you think about it, clearly very impressive. I didn't know that going into it, but very impressive.
It is.
Do you have any idea what Wisconsin's is?
No.
You want to Google it?
No.
I kind of want to know now. Hey, Sean, what's up? It's Terry and Johnny here. Also, I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Each day this week, you're going to see rounds 1, 2, and 3 from the women's coverage in a condensed format. Ladies of the Chains ultimately re-commentated over our first day because our first day had a few struggles. So they re-commentated over the first day from start to finish. That was released at 8:59 Central Time tonight. So that's available. Please go out and watch that. And then rounds 2 and 3 will be released over the next couple of days. So Lindsay says, I'm out of the loop. Why wasn't Paige Pierce playing in Utah? She had already traveled overseas internationally. She's already over there, and that's why. Cool One says, are you commentating in the booth with Dixon from the live feed that we are watching? Is this different than watching any other way? We're commentating live in the booth in Utah. I think that answers your question. So we're seeing exactly what Johnny V is seeing. He's sharing, essentially what's on his screen. He's sharing with us. We're watching that, and then as we commentate, and then 17 seconds later is when everybody sees everything out there, and it goes back to Johnny. Johnny then sends it out through some server things, and then ultimately it shows up on your screen. So that's how that works out. Chris said he'd love to meet up and play around. Chris, we're excited to be out there, hopefully, for the Worlds at Utah. I know Johnny has been negotiating and having some conversations with the PDGA as to the coverage plan. and I think we're going to see some of that action out there. I think we should probably talk about a few details and logistics, booth-wise or coverage-wise, but first we have to find out exactly which direction the
Worlds?
Yeah, which direction the PDGA wants to go.
Yeah, correct. We've got a couple different proposals into the PDGA as far as what we have to offer. Similar, we can, because of this field size, there's a couple different ways we can attack the event.
Hey everyone, this is...
We have proposed doing similar cuts like we have with the FPO for the PDGA. We've also put out there possibly doing live for both MPO and FPO, depending on how they can time the footage, which I think would be kind of cool, being able to do 2 live rounds in a single day. We'll bust our cameraman's humps a little bit, but we'll see. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be up to the PDGA to see what they want to go with as far as coverage and costs.
Okay, so there's a few options on the table. We've presented them to the PDGA, and we're excited to see both where budget and logistics all shake out, and that will determine how the PDGA ultimately wants the coverage, the live coverage, hopefully, shaped and molded for the year. So, Ray says, why couldn't you carry a mic and walk with cameras to get better perspective? Do you mean like we've done for the last 3 years?
Yeah, the last 3 years we've done that.
Is that what you're wondering?
Had a wireless mic hooked up to one of the cameras, walked around, gotten a better perspective, so to speak, of where it is, of stuff. The problem you run into that is you're kind of adding an additional, well, not really an additional breakage point, because we still have the internet breakage point between you and me, but now you have an internet, or not, a wireless breakage point between you and the camera, which means that if the wireless goes a little wonky. We lose your audio, or if the signal of the camera goes bad, we lose audio and video. At least this way with a booth, if the camera goes bad, we can always cut to a booth or the second camera and still have audio. There's pros and cons either way. We've said, and we're still feeling out what the best way is, but I mean, ultimately, it seems like the booth is a pretty popular choice right now. But you're right, it is much easier to see what's going on if you're at the course.
Yeah, and Rob says I'm much less sunburned. I am, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't think I got past the leaderboard this weekend. I need to get out and take in a little bit more of it. Dad's Drunk says I've called for booth commentary for 3 years, and it's so much better. Every event gets better. Well, we appreciate you're all-knowing, Dad's Drunk. We appreciate that. And here's what's funny. For those who don't know, we'll take a quick trip down memory lane. When Disc Golf Planet started, the way to do the way that it started from day one was the fact that there were 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 different commentators that graced the booth's presence, that were in the booth. And the very first ever live broadcast had a team of 2 people in the booth, and then they'd swap it out and 2 different people would go in a booth. Or then one guy would stay in and another different guy would come in. And there was lots of teams and combos that were tried to be in a booth. And then a long time later, eventually it was pretty much settled that there would be 2 main people in the booth doing commentary similar to how we're doing it today. Similar but different. Not quite as... it was a little drawn back from where we're at right now. Then at one point it was determined, hey, let's go out and put someone in the field.
Well, actually, that was determined because we could. Because at that point when we got we pushed out the live U package. So similar to what we're doing now, we were able to do that, and then on top of that, put somebody in there to give a better perspective.
And that became a wildly popular, ultimately it became the most popular route, was that somebody walking along with the group could see everything that was going on and therefore could call the shots more accurately, so that the people in the booth had more perspective than just what was on screen.
Yeah.
And that, again, came with some pros, and it came with some challenges, including mics and breathing or walking and additional places for things to go wrong, or wires to, whatever. And that was
players to hear you.
Players to hear you as well, which was definitely a consideration for a long time. At that point, when we came about in 2014, we made a very conscious decision to do exactly that, to always be in the field. We could have started with a booth from day one. It was absolutely possible. We just decided that being in the field was the most logical way to go about it. Now, also, if you remember, day one, who many of you don't remember and you shouldn't, day one had one cameraman and had me either as that cameraman and or the commentator. So we were a very different operation than what we were, that we've now evolved or grown into. If you go back and look at the 2014 AM Worlds, which is probably on your playlist to hit up yet, if you go back and look at that, I literally was filming the players and had a microphone on the camera facing back at me so that I could commentate while the players were actually playing, while working the camera. And that's how we started. So, or that was one of the methods that we attempted. So I'm not going to say you're not genius, Dad's drunk, but just so you know, the booth was a conscious decision to not do it for quite some time, and we eventually, I'll say, warmed up and have now accepted and like it. But it still came with all the pros we know it would, and it still comes with all the cons that we know it would.
And the advantage
and neither
now,
are perfect.
The advantage now of having a booth, as opposed to back then, was the booth could only see what was live. You had one shot.
Yep.
So you only saw what the camera saw. At least now the booth can see the throw and the catch, so you have a little bit better idea of where things land and where they're going. Otherwise, it was watching someone throw and go, I think they threw out into the fairway, and you have no idea. Now, 90% of the time, the commentators can see where the disc lands and what happens. So,
yeah. So it's, again, very different, and we've evolved to the booth being what seems like the best possible solution now. But a booth, even 2 years ago, would have probably not gone over so great for the reason you just said.
It wouldn't have been as accurate as at least we have now. So.
Correct. So it's been all part of the evolution, and we'll see where it goes from there. But you know, and lots of people have said, well, it'd be great to have a field reporter. It'd be great to have this person out there. It'd be great to check in. It'd be great to have somebody at the Tourney Open giving us updates while we're watching. You know, while we're live at another event. There's a lot of things that would be great, and it's just a matter of, again, continuing to evolve and getting rich somehow with millions of dollars coming in for support.
I've said I think our next step is some sort of stationary camera to go along with what we have now, but even that comes with extra expenses, additional. I mean, that's you don't have to pay a cameraman, but you still have to set up the data. You have to set up a server. I have to have another camera set up here, which is more processing power and recording space. So every little bit adds that much more. So, but I think we're working there. We're getting closer.
Eventually, you're going to be confusing us with ESPN.
Most certainly.
Okay, maybe not. Sean says, the live coverage is awesome. I really enjoy it. Well, we appreciate it, Sean. And we continue to say it. We grow. Sometimes it seems incremental. Sometimes big things are going on. Sometimes big things happen and it's a small impact. And of course, sometimes it's the exact opposite. A really small thing can have a huge impact. And it comes with people, and it comes with money, and it comes with all the other resources, and it comes a little bit with technology, as we've experienced. As technology becomes more practical and affordable for us, that's when we're going to be able to continue to grow and improve as well.
I almost called Charter Spectrum today to see if I can get the gigabit connection here, which would still only be 940 down, but by 35 up. So that's what they consider gigabit here.
Yeah, well,
so we'll see.
They should do their math different.
Well, you'll be coming over to my house to upload everything at 35.
No, actually, I ultimately was at the local library tonight. Again, hats off to Steve Dodge. I was at a, not my library, but one nearby. And sure enough, let me put this in perspective. When I had to upload the women's footage tonight, and this is good, I think, for any group to know, it was about 4.5 gig for the front 9 of the women's coverage from round 1. So you have 4.5 gig. Let's just double that for the back 9. And then I load it, in this case, I load it to both my channel and to the Pro Tours channel so we can release it all at once. Watch it on my channel. So I have to upload, in theory, what is that, 18 gigs? That is minimum at my house with a decent internet connection that I have. That's a minimum of 4 hours of just straight uploading. That's an hour per 4 gig.
And what is the library rolling with?
My local library has worse internet than I do.
Okay.
So when I was at this other library, tonight I managed roughly 80 down and 80 up.
Okay.
So I put up all 4 rounds, or
Right.
all 4 of those 9s, in like 30 minutes today. It was
So they have an 80, yeah, an 80 by 80
ridiculous.
fiber connection.
I think it's even faster than that. And
Maybe it's 100 by 100 then.
Point was, it was amazing. So I know where I'm doing all of my uploading. Fun fact, you want to take a guess? I've talked about this before. You want to take a guess what the Denver airport is?
Oh, they've got really good internet, I believe, if I remember hearing correctly.
If you go back to talks around the 2016 Next Gen finale, and when I had to upload from there the next day, I seriously, if I can find the right deals on Southwest and get a $49 plane ride there and a $49 plane ride back, which you can do sometimes with our friends at Southwest, it is worth it for the upload. I did a speed test. I think I saved it on my computer.
Was
I
it
got-
a gig up?
I got from the Denver airport free Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I got like 80 or 100 down and 151 up.
Oh, so not even as good as I thought. So I mean,
Yeah,
great.
74 down and 151 up. And I'll quit talking numbers about data upload. But I can tell you, when you're Central Coast, when you're Jomez, when you're the disc golf guy, your Smashbox, your country disc golf, these numbers mean a lot. And
You're extremely happy when you see them.
I don't think I've ever seen publicly a 151 meg per second up. And to put that in perspective for you guys at home, most of you have probably around anywhere from 20 to 60 down and anywhere from 1 to 10 up at your house. You go to the Denver airport and you have 151 megs down upload. Like, that's insane. Anyway, it was very exciting. I wish I had stuff to upload there, but I didn't when I was there.
Oh, yeah, Country Disc Golf's got a 250 fiber. Very nice. That's a 250 down, 250 up.
That's amazing. All right. Why did our viewership go down when you got here? That doesn't make sense. Or does it?
It might.
I'm totally kidding. All right, guys. Dad's drunk, giving us more info. I do so much with the kids and spending on soccer. I better not ever be in the doghouse at home, very rarely anyway. Well, we're not going to have a defined after show, but if we did, I would say, what's going on in World Cup? Maybe one of you guys can fill me in. I hear a lot of screaming.
So something about Argentina squeezing through to the semis.
Okay.
But that's all I heard. I've watched about 20 minutes of World Cup. I turned it on the TV the other day. Both my kids are in some sort of soccer, so they enjoy watching it. But
Cool One has a really good question in saying, Dad's drunk, first of all, wants me to read something about Messi. I don't know. Messiah. Dad's drunk.
Messier. Let's there.
I'm sorry. Cool One says, why is Dixon Jowers from DD commenting on a Prodigy event? Dixon Jowers is sponsored by Dynamic Discs. However, Dixon Jowers, for all of this year, is a Disc Golf Pro Tour employee. And I say he's a contracted talking head of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. He doesn't show up wearing Dynamic Discs apparel. He is a Dynamic Discs player, sponsored player, but when he is with us and he is on the Pro Tour doing Pro Tour things, he is Dixon Jowers, the podcaster, and Dixon Jowers, the on the boxer. He is a talking head that happens to be sponsored, and although DD is in fact a sponsor of the Pro Tour, Dixon Jowers, I feel like, never is in any way bias toward anything that has anything to do with DD.
100% agree. And the only thing I noticed that you can maybe nitpick a little bit
is he knows their disc better.
He knows the DD disc, so he knows what Ricky's throwing much better than he knows what Sias Elmore is going to be throwing.
Sure. And I'm okay with that, because that's his knowledge that he knows.
Exactly. You know, you might know Macbeth's bag better than we'll say Conrad's, even though they're both in on them.
Sure.
So it just so happens that he knows the DD line and the Trilogy line a little bit better, so he has a better estimate when Ricky or someone from that line will be throwing something. But I will be honest and say, A, he brings a lot of information, and B, he takes off whatever DD hat he's wearing when he's behind or in front of the camera. So
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know if I say dare I ask as to what you guys think about us as a team, but I'll go ahead and say I really enjoy working with him. He's given me a comfort level that knows when I screw up, he just kind of rolls with it. But also, if I get caught up in doing some other technical or non-technical thing off to the side, or have to go look into something, Dixon is more than capable, and then some, of carrying the show and doing what he needs to do. So I've been really happy to have him. We kind of talk about some strategy. He does way more preparation than anyone else, and I think he does really, really good. And he's killed it. I mean, he's never really touched video editing software before this year, and he goes out and uses a software package that works for him to get things going, to put together his thing, his pregame shows. And he very much has taken on whatever Steve Dodge has thrown at him. And some of the stuff he's doing, I think Steve envisioned me doing more of, and me being more active with. There just wasn't enough hours in the day. And Dixon has not only taken on those responsibilities, but I think he's excelled with them. And I think we're really fortunate to have him. So
I agree.
Yeah, as someone said, the handoff between the two of us is smooth. I thoroughly enjoy working with him. There's very few co-commentators I don't enjoy working with. I'll say that. But I said all of this to Dixon just the other day as we were closing things out on Sunday night, that I thoroughly enjoy working with him. And eventually we'll find somebody else really good, and it'll be Dixon and somebody else good. And I'll go take a nap or watch some golf or something.
It has been interesting watching the different FPO players step in and do their different version of commentary. Sometimes we see on the chat board people are very critical of them. Sometimes people love them. I think, who was it on day 2? It was...
on day 2, we had Colleen Thompson.
Colleen. Everybody loved Colleen. Thought she was very knowledgeable and really good input. Paige Bierkis, people were like, oh my God, she talks a lot.
And the funny part is, she said she was nervous about what she was going to say.
And that's what I said. I said, it's her first time ever doing live commentary or commentary. Period. She was nervous, and that's how she is all the time. If you sit and have a conversation with her, she's going to talk your ear off because that's just her personality. And she's wonderful and bubbly and friendly. And I think that she eventually got into a pretty good groove with it. And her and Amy, was it Amy that was with her?
I think she was with Lisa Fakis. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Paige was with Amy, yes.
Paige was with Amy. And her and Amy eventually got into a nice little groove. So it's been really interesting for me to watch the different FPO players step in and step out day after day to see the differences in styles.
Totally. And I know the board is blowing up, and I understand everyone's really passionate about the various commentators and the pros and the cons. Number one, first and foremost, I have to say, some of these women get done golfing, have maybe never commentated ever before on a round of golf, and 30 minutes after they're done with their round, because they've agreed to it, they get rushed in, they sit down, I say, okay, Johnny was going to be in your ear, you're going to watch golf, now go. And I cannot give all of them, the seasoned, well-spoken, perfect ones, and anyone who's not. Like, I give all of them so much credit because they are mentally drained and exhausted, sometimes even a little physically, and then they sit down. So they're doing them, just everyone, a favor by giving us what they're giving. Now, naturally, as you're all saying on the board, of course, some of you will gravitate, and you'll say, oh, this one was great, or oh, this one wasn't so great, and everything in between. That's fine. Everyone's got their preferences, but as it was just said, also give each one of them a few tries. Yep. Give them some time. Believe it or not, I wasn't perfect at one point, and I know I early adopted and got there to being just perfect because I never screw up.
Sure, Simon.
Yeah, exactly. No, but totally seriously, they all need a couple of chances, and then at that point, what I think is great is we are grooming what could be our next permanent commentators or set of commentators. Yeah. They are learning the process. They're learning what they're seeing. They're learning how to talk, to the viewers. There's so many things going on. The one thing that I religiously make sure of is that as they're doing it, they don't see the YouTube comments coming in, because that's when everybody like just gets total, whether it's a positive or a negative, that you want to shake someone, and that goes for our interviewers here, even on Smashbox, to try and read along and either not get offended or pay attention to what's going on is impossible. So we never let anyone see the commentary, because some of you guys are brutal and mean and jerkish, and some of you are very polite. But either way, that's one more thing they don't need to worry about while it's happening. So, all right. Madison has gotten to be better than the more she does it. I think all of them will. I think that's a great way to put it. CC Country Disc Golf says the complaining would be epic if there were no commentary on any of the post-production footage. That's true.
Which is funny, because I put out the Smash Cut. I put out a sample every once in a while. Like,
Yep.
just say, hey guys, if you like this, there's a whole round of it. There was a bunch of people that were put, this is awesome. Where can I find all 18 holes? Because if you're a Patreon supporter, which I know a lot of you are, you get that at that night, the full 18 with just the nature sounds, the natural. And when I put the sample out there, they're like, this is great. Why can't I get this? And I'm like, you can, but B, you would grow to hate it, I'm sure. Or I can't imagine how many people. Giving people the option is always nice.
And I'm going to follow that up, and that's actually an unintended segue. I have all 8 videos, and now it might be too late, but I think I'm going to do it on the women's side too. Maybe from now on, moving forward, I should always release, anytime I have a video, I always have a video without any commentary on it, because it was all put together, and then now the new norm is getting commentary. Maybe for my Patreon supporters over at the Disc Golf Guys account, maybe I always put those out. Every single video.
No reason not to.
Then somebody could have the option.
Unlist them and then say, hey guys, if for Patreon supporters, you get an uncommented version just to watch if you want. And then if you like it, great. If not, you already have the video. There's no reason not to do it.
I really like that idea.
Other than the time it takes to upload.
Yeah, I think I think maybe moving forward, that's something I'll do for my Patreon supporters, is put out the exact same video that has the commentary, but put it out without the commentary. So if somebody does prefer that, and you're a Patreon supporter, you'll have it there and available for you. All right, scroll back. Sorry, I'm used to being able to scroll over here and see all the comments. I just want to quickly read through.
There wasn't really much.
Now you're gonna judge our.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
It
I know. Scroll back down. I was kind of caught up. Yes, and Matt says we're glad to have these teams that are trying. I totally agree with that. Hans, I saw an interesting comment saying post-round game commentary is the future of all sports. In 2 years, LeBron will be doing the same thing
to a 40-minute recap, as opposed to.
He might be, but I don't think the game won't be watched still. And I don't know if that's what you're implying or not, that we're going to start skipping watching the live 3-hour game and people will wait for the 40-minute version even if LeBron's on it. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think it'll grow, and I think there will be a sub-market for that, a la, Jomez, Central Coast, whatever. But I don't think you're ever going to see it live ultimately get overtaken, is what I think. Matt Pipke says, I just can't make it through a no commentary version, which I also understand.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, there's different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to.
Would it be weird to request an audio-only format? Kind of. Maybe. Depends on how great the commentators are. But I feel like if I knew I was doing it for an audio-only version, I would certainly commentate differently than if I assumed you were watching.
You need to have much more play-by-play, true play-by-play, talking about every shot. And for a video format, that doesn't work very well. You don't want to walk up to all right, Eagle McMahon gets up on this 287-foot hole. It's a slight turnover to the right. Eagle throws it about 250 feet. He's going to be looking at an uphill putt, and you don't want to be rattling that off for 18 straight holes. You want to do something like that on occasion, or give details like that. But if it were an audio-only format, that would be a new, unique, almost like a storytelling type.
Yeah, it would just be a very different.
That would be way different.
And you'd have to plan for that ahead of time, I believe. Tommy requested that because he says if he's in the wood shop or something. Ray, did anyone video Big Germ's ace? I discussed that earlier. No one got it. He should have played better to be on a better card. but no one was there to film him because he was on like the 34th card. Just kidding. Um,
Bob Johnson says, "Why the heck would you want to put out no audio?" There's a difference between no audio and just on-course audio.
yeah, the ambient sounds and the noises of not we're saying no commentary,
no commentary,
not no
but
audio.
you still hear the chains, you still hear the scuffs of the feet, you hear the wind, you hear the players chatting at times, you hear the crowd erupt when someone hits a big putt. You're right. If you just muted it, that would be boring.
Yeah, that would be
at least this makes you almost kind of feel like you could be out on the course going along with it. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, so we're saying a non-commentaried version, not a non-sound version. Did anyone get AB's ace? I also don't believe anybody did, otherwise you would have seen it out there by now. Yep, exactly. As Pot Dragon says, no video, it didn't happen. I totally agree. You do, Matt says, I'd like to hear the players talking on the tee and stuff like that. I totally agree with all of that. Words are tough. Yes, Brian, I agree. And do we speak French?
I speak a little bit of French.
I'm just going to say no. I took French for
middle school.
A few months doesn't count. Bob Johnson says, Mike the players. That's certainly an idea that A, there's a certain convenience factor with the players, and then B, there's a time, money, resources factor with all that too. But that would be kind of fun.
I would not want to. Someone says, "Yeah, do play just like that, Johnny. Play-by-play podcast for certain tourneys. Anyone is welcome to. If you want to go out, you need a microphone. You can watch one of the cuts, put out something like that. I just don't see. I wouldn't see there being a huge market for that. And by the time somebody would even get it out, it would unless you were recording it as the round goes and then cut it up and put it out as a podcast, say Sunday night, that's about the only way it's going to be really useful, because most people aren't going to go back and listen to a round on Wednesday or Thursday after the event happens.
Yeah.
But I've been wrong before. It's possible it could happen.
Well, and interestingly enough, for those that, again, want to take a trip down memory lane.
For the visually... I guess there is something there maybe for the visually impaired.
Certainly. That could be. When I originally had the idea for what Smashbox, which is very different from my original idea, my original concept of Smashbox and the media that it was going to contain was everything really but live video. I had a website that had frames and things all boxed up, because in one corner of the site I wanted to be showing you the PDGA's scoring system, and in another corner of the site I wanted to be uploading from a camera through a really fancy gadget at the time, uploading through a camera to give you basically like an Instagram feed. And I wanted to then have an audio broadcast taking place where there was an actual system that I would log into, and I called the shots just like you're talking about, and have that streaming as a live audio stream, as if you were listening to a baseball game or any other sporting event, and it was just a live audio stream. I basically said live video is insanely expensive because we watched Disc Golf Planet doing it, and we both helped with Disc Golf Planet. So I said, I'd like to do everything but live video. I'll take pictures, I'll put up scores, I can put tweets in there, we can do all this crazy stuff, and that's how Smashbox will be shaped and molded and formed. And somewhere out there, I wonder if you can go in the Wayback Machine and take a look at an early Smashbox website. That was the vision, that was the dream, that was the goal, and it was tested. It was tested at the Memorial. I had people actually logged in, listening to me giving play-by-play at the Memorial. That was a thing, and then eventually we got to the realization that there could in fact be live video, and we started working in a different route, and now we bring you what we do. So anyway, that's little known fact that's originally how things were envisioned and thought out when Smashbox got started. Rob Bullen says flip cam. I used to have a flip cam. At least I have a face for radio, Sean says. I agree. I'm just kidding. A lot of terrible things have a market for someone. Doesn't make them good ideas. Remember, I know
he knows all,
so just listen, damn it.
Yeah, because he was saying that it's a terrible idea for the audio podcast of play-by-play. And I said, well, obviously there's a market for somebody. It's just not fiscally and responsible with our time
Yes.
at this point. But if anyone else wanted to do it, you're more than welcome to use our footage to record it and watch it and make a podcast. We'll even put it out on our podcast network if you'd
Yeah,
like.
that'd be perfectly
As
fine.
long as I don't have to do any work other than hit submit.
Terry, why Smashbox? I always wanted to ask you that. Maybe you came up with what made you come up with that name? Well, similar to my Arizona story and debuting the concept of what Smashbox was all to be about. There's actually an now closed bar / dance club that's in Phoenix, and its name was Smashbox. And honestly, I just thought the name was cool, and that was it. Like, I took the name.
I laughed at it at first. I didn't think it was a very good idea.
I just thought it was cool, and then I liked the name. But then as I started putting together what was the components at the time of like all these different things, and I didn't want it to be golf related necessarily. And I didn't want some disc golf branding to it, which to this day I'm not. I'm totally fine with. I like that it's unique and that it's not just branded as something in disc golf. Because I'm guessing within, was it 4 years? I was gonna say within the next year we'll be covering World Cup, but that's 4 years from now. Do they do that
Every
24 years? How often do they World Cup? I thought that was 4 years.
It might be every 4 years.
I feel like it is. Gosh, my football knowledge is just gleaming, just glowing for everyone today. All right. What's next for Smashbox in 2019?
More Pro Tour events. Like I said, I'd love to find some way to expand the coverage. I don't know how yet. Whether, like I said, whether that's a static camera, whether that's an additional cameraman, whether
Or
that's
woman.
or camera woman, camera person. I don't know. It all depends. I mean, right now we are on a shoestring budget, and not Will Shoestrick type budget. His budget's probably bigger than ours. So ultimately, it comes down to finances and all that other good stuff that nobody wants to hear about. I just think that if we continue to refine the product that we have and make incremental jumps, at some point we will make an incremental enough jump that it looks like a large jump, and you're like, oh wow, look at how much they've gone. Just today I told Terry that the interview I did with the company Teradek that supplies all of our boxes, no, they don't supply it, that manufactures all the boxes that we put on the cameras, do the broadcast, that was finalized. I got sent the proof of it. I proofread it, sent it back, changed one or two little things, and so that should hopefully come out soon. I'll make sure to point everybody to it. But other than that, I don't know what is really weddings.
Yeah, Smashbox weddings. Is that not like how? If let's put it this way, if you were to say, Bill and Jane or Bill and Bob are getting married next week or in 2 months, like it only makes sense for them to have it live so everybody from around the world can watch, all their friends, all their family. And not everybody can afford to go there, and or the week after, little Susie's in a spelling bee. And wouldn't it be great if the PTA said, hey, why don't we just broadcast this live so Uncle Joe in the other side of the country? I mean, we're open for ideas, but yeah, weddings is I would we have in-booth commentary for weddings?
Oh, that would be great.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Do we know any disc golfers that are engaged?
Yes, Kyle and Audrey. I think they're getting married next week.
Next week.
Oh
Kyle,
let me call.
ring this up.
I'll skip the Pro Tour. I will skip the Pro Tour event so that we can come.
Yeah,
I think they're probably this weekend, actually. So, and Tina and Eric, I think they're getting married in Nantucket.
They are.
That place is expensive. Yeesh. All right, good luck.
How does the PDGA determine who does... excuse me, I tried to fight through it. How does the PDGA determine who does lead card coverage, and how does the Pro Tour do it as well? To be honest, I don't even know. I'm always surprised on that final day when we're live and I see, like, oh, look, it's Louis Bittney. I'm joking, it's Corey Merle, but
yeah,
it's... I honestly don't know how Steve Dodge determines it.
So I'll say, because I know there was a lot of conversation and a lot of the debate and the debate groups and everything else. There's a lot of conversation, and the CCDG and Jomez, along with some over-scoping influence from Steve Dodge, kind of determined at the beginning of the year who was going to cover what. And it largely was based on, in this case, it was largely based on CCDG's potential schedule. They weren't, I don't feel like, as firm and locked in on their schedule as what Jomez was, which was meaning they could be there literally every weekend. And so there was some trade-offs for events like, oh, you're going to be in this area. Like San Francisco Open is the best possible example of that. It's not only in their backyard, but they knew they were going to be there for sure. So they had talked about it ahead of time as to CCDG, in that case, covering lead card. At the, I think the same was said of Utah or whatever the case might be. So anyway, the point is that's how they all kind of discovered it or have come about it. Mm-hmm. Now on the PDGA's perspective, I don't know as much of that insider info, maybe as much as I'd like to know, but it sounds like at the PDGA, at one point last year, it was just decided or chosen or picked that Jomez would be covering MPO. Well, at the beginning of the year, had Vegas with Jomez covering MPO and FPO. Yep. And I was under some impression that there was some kind of agreement or contract or something that kind of had them locked in as the leader card coverage for the whole year. And now I've seen that kind of switched up. So
I would be...
Honestly, I don't know.
If I took a wild guess, I would think that they did it, MPO and FPO at Vegas, realized how much work that is, and the fact that they definitely need at least one more person, if not maybe two, and couldn't commit to doing MPO and FPO consistently for the whole thing, which is, as we move along. But I think the reason why Jomez probably got the nod is because they could, just like before, they could commit to the entire tour this year as opposed to CCDG, which I don't know if they could or not. But that's just a wild, completely speculation on my part. I have, unfortunately, no inside knowledge of it.
I'd love to know how it went down. Because I'm in the field, not just because I'm nosy. I would love to know, because I certainly realize there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of filming, and I think that will all continue to unfold throughout the year. But I would love to know how and when it was just decided that. I know that the PDGA is usually really good about RFPs and putting out, those types of things for bids and contracts. But in this particular case, I have no idea. It was news to me when it was just kind of announced that Jomez was going to be at every single national tour. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have been. I mean, obviously they're this phenomenal outfit, but yeah. It was a little shocking to me that there was, I don't want to say, I don't know if transparency is the word or not. I was surprised there wasn't a little bit more foresight or transparency to the whole thing. And I say that because I'm in the filming industry, and I clearly should not have, gotten it over them. I'm not suggesting anything crazy of that nature. I just think it was a little surprising, I think is the best way to put that. Not saying it wasn't deserving. It was surprising how it went down. Chris Durkin says, we can come to the wedding and broadcast his daughter's wedding next year. That's how we would earn our invite to his daughter's wedding.
All right.
So
it would be fun to bring in drunk relatives to do co-commentating.
But what I was just going to say to that too, I think it's the dad that typically picks up a lot of wedding expenses. So as long as Chris is writing us the check,
the daughter's parents are usually the ones that pick up a lot of that.
All right, we'll invoice you, no problem. Country Disc Golf said, then didn't Corey go full-time filming? And yes, and so let's bring that back real quick to say that's where some of the confusion, I think, set in. I think Jomez on the Pro Tour side, I can't speak of the NTs, Jomez was fully available and committed on the Pro Tour side, and then things shook up a little bit more where Corey and CCDG to some degree were more available, and then that's when some negotiating and conversations went back and forth with them when Corey dedicated to saying, I can do this full time.
And much like everyone's saying about us making these incremental changes, I want to give props to CCDG for making those changes as well. And a lot of people can say they're playing catch up with Jomez, but they now have they've got their speed, the speed gun,
radar
gun. They've got their version of the
like a flight tracker,
follow flight, which they call the Coastline, which I think personally is one of the cleverest names that's out there. I told Ian that I used a 4-letter word that it's effing awesome. It is a great name, and he said some fan came up with it. So they are on the verge of. It really comes down to your choice in commentators now, because I think the video quality is the same, the graphics quality you can give or take. Jomez has the scores on the screen all the time. Central Coast is a little cleaner as far as their video. They wait for the scores after the in between holes. Honestly, I think CCDG is doing a really good job as well.
Exactly. So, Dad's Drunk says he doesn't want to pay for his 3 daughters' weddings. Too bad.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough. I suggest you start saving now for that and college.
Seeing all the media, someone asked how much does Corey make? No idea.
$1 billion.
Give or take $1 billion. Yeah, no idea how much he makes, and I'm not sure who pays him. I mean, I don't know if Ian pays him or if there's. I'll just say I don't know. Nobody knows. Have you guys talked to Big Germ about why his play has been un-Germ-like this year? Waco and then largely missing in action.
He got married.
Yeah, he got married. I don't know if you guys knew that. He got a girlfriend.
He did. He got. There you go. That's it.
And she's way smarter than him, but.
I mean, that's really setting the bar kind of low.
I just said she's way smarter than him. You said it.
I did. I'm just teasing.
They don't have nomads yet. What part of the country are you in? Okay, I'm gonna skip that. The media, any media that qualifies for lead card coverage has to be able to release footage in 24 hours. That's now become
the standard.
A standard / requirement. Yes. Way back in the day, that wasn't necessarily a thing, and some events may or may not enforce that. But yeah, now it's just assumed that it's going to be within 24 hours.
I saw the funniest,
and specifically laid out, where it used to be kind of like, that would be great, let's hope for it, but now it's become, hey, where's my award for same day all day coverage
for the women?
Yeah,
it's there. 2 funny stories. One, there was someone that was on the board during the FPO saying, "See, look what they can do. They can really get it out that same day." And I had said, "Well, limited graphics, 1 camera." Goes much quicker.
Show me the money.
But
where's my Cuba?
Something that's gonna make your head explode. I saw a comment on the Reddits.
F them. I don't like them.
About it was Jomez's second card coverage, I believe. Second card on the final day. Someone was complaining that Jomez spoiled the lead card because they got it out first and showed the list of positions at the very end of the video. I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, it's like somebody was seriously a little upset about it. Like I was spoiled because CCDG got theirs out like 2 hours after Jomez or 3 hours after Jomez or whatever it was, and Jomez had put the results on there, and there was one guy, everyone else laid into him like, dude, you're an idiot, this and that. I was laughing so hard. Reddit makes me laugh a lot of times.
I believe that someone also made a post regarding to the Disc Golf Pro Tours page tonight, I think I saw, saying, why would you put the finale up? Some people don't have the time to watch the 3 or 4 hour live broadcast, but some people haven't had the time to catch up on all the on the post-production stuff yet either.
The finale? What do you mean?
No. They said, why did you put up basically the winner?
Oh.
Because not only do I don't have time to watch the live, he was saying, but I also haven't had the time to watch all the post-production footage yet. So you're spoiling it for me as well.
Too bad. So
because
sad.
the Disc Golf Pro Tour said congrats to Ricky and
I don't
Katrina.
I don't always agree with Eagle, but he did last week. I think when he came out and he was
he lashed out.
Get over your spoilers. Stay off social media if you don't want to. There's a little subscribe and a little bell you can click to get notified of when these things
or not click
to get notified of when events get posted. So if you do that, do it with Smashbox, CCDG, and Jomez, and then you can always go to dgpt/watch.
Exactly.
dgpt.com/watch. Avoid social media. Spoilers, I'm kind of done with them.
Yep. JVD, that single cam 8-bit graphics was me at Hall of Fame Classic last year.
Bravo.
No, and I'm going to spoil it for you guys. Well, maybe I won't. I'll just let you guys keep thinking it. Mr. Robot Conversation. Yeah, the next gen disc golf on the board is not, in fact, Dave Fehlberg, as he or she admitted to. I know who it is, but it's a secret. The format for FPO first is awesome. One camera or not, I love it.
Yeah, moving beyond one camera, you would need a couple more editors to do 2-camera coverage in order to make it work
I just,
properly.
unfortunately, I don't see that happening. We are so tight on the timeline that we're currently on to get that one camera footage out and adding that to, and it's.
You've had a lot of spare time. Like, I think I got the last one at least 8 minutes before the FPO started.
Needless to say, there's plenty of pressure when the cards and the coverage is coming in, and I'm on hole 15 and we go live in 28 minutes, but I'm editing hole 15 and it needs to get to you. It's insane. It truly is. I never understand the spoilers over the anger over spoilers. Good call. If you don't want any live, yes, exactly. It's a good way to find yourself off social media. That's a good way to put it. I watched the live coverage and it ruined the post-production results for me. Yes, and the sarcasm, exactly.
What can you do? What do you think of all the budding DG channels? Example, Ryan NYC, and there's a few other ones I've heard about recently.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
Of course.
Like
there's nothing. There's
the
no
more,
problem with that.
The more the merrier. They just, I mean, right now there's a limited pool of funds for pulling funds from manufacturers, tournaments, and things like that. So it's going to be hard, you know, if let's just say whoever pays Jomez or whatever to show up, if that's even done, and CCDG, now you've got, you know, the disc golf guy, you've got, you know, maybe 2-3 other ones. People are going to have to start coming on their own dime or finding their own sponsors. And it's going to be hard to, I'll say this, it's going to be very hard to supplant Jomez and CCDG at this point. They're kind of set in stone. You're going to need to do something well above and beyond in order to do it.
All right. Ray says, I have a question of different topic. We started our PDGA membership at 50, and I understand you have time and effort to set your account up, plus you get a disc, but why do they continue to charge 50? It's just an ongoing membership, and I understand some memberships may be like, oh, it's 50 for the first year and then 40 every year after, or 30 or 20. At $50,
they're kind of taking that first year almost as a loss leader.
Yes.
Or making much less profit, assuming that you're going to come back for the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's they're not in a position that if they were, let's put it this way, the PDGA memberships are not the number one revenue stream in the PDGA's annual budget, and there's very little money being made on that $50, believe it or not, when it's all broken down. Country Disc Golf said, So Blue has taken over Alabama disc golf filming, and they started out using iPhones on a gimbal, which I watched and was thoroughly confused about for a minute. That was my editorial. Not sure what gear they're filming with now. Exactly. I mean, we've said it before. The industry isn't that hard to break into. It's just a matter of how long do you, before you leave your local area, how long do you...
Before you invest in a decent camera.
Exactly. Get a couple of decent cameras. Are you doing throw and catch? How long are you editing? Are you trying to get out next day? Are you willing to go spend $200, $300, $500 to travel to an event where you may or may not even be getting paid? And that's good. I think everybody kind of needs to start there. I know I certainly did. Yeah. I don't know if it was more than a year before I got ever paid from anyone for anything. And I'm not saying everyone has to be on my path, but I do worry in the same breath with like a lot of other businesses. I do worry that I've kind of got this notion that some people think, well, I'm going to buy a camera and I'm going to go film something and where's my paycheck? And it's like, you have to kind of prove your skill sets and all of those things first.
I don't think anyone's thinking
No,
that
somebody sent me a message and basically said, I'm just getting started. How do I charge, this event? How do I charge them? How much should I charge them? I'm like, now again, you got to work yourself into some of that.
Yeah, that's just someone who doesn't know business. Period. I mean, that's you can't just with anything. You can't just show up and say, "All right, I got a product. Someone pay me for it." You kind of have to earn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dad Strong says doing a detail type show, like he had said earlier, like maybe break down Ricky's round specifically, only show Ricky's shots and have a pro break it down. I think that would be kind of a cool off-season thing to do. If you could take these rounds and chop them up and say, hey, today we're sitting here with Yuli. We're going to break down Rick's 1100 rated round. I don't know what you'd say other than, wow, that's a great shot. Followed by another great shot. Followed by another great shot.
He threw his triple X here. It was really overstable. And again, maybe I don't think...
I'm sure there would be. I'm just...
No, I know. But Johnny and I had a conversation a little while ago about some of those types of things, and that's a tangent of another idea that I had about how we could break down some videos and do some other stuff. But there's a lot of great ideas out there. It's again, time, energy, resources. Who's going to do it? At some point, we'll come up with an idea, just like you said, and then we'll propose it as it really being ours, like we're geniuses, and then we'll not give you credit. I mean, come on, I know you're anticipating nothing but that. Ray, have a good night. We appreciate it. See ya. Matt says, after doing it for free for a year, how do you then get them to start paying you? It's like anything else.
If you're good enough, people are going to want you there.
Or expect to pay you.
Yeah.
Too. Like if you're really good, people, or they see value in what you're doing, they should assume that you're going to get compensated for that.
Yeah. You almost have to bring it up like, hey, at some point you show them your portfolio, so to speak, and you say, this is what I can do. Would you like me to come to your event? Maybe it'll cost you a little bit. Maybe you need to start first break in with merchandise. Like, because that's what a lot of these people have. They might have spare merchandise. Say, oh yeah, I can do it for 10 discs or 20 discs, or maybe you're going to do it for $100 or $150, and eventually maybe work up, if you're lucky, for big events. Maybe you can even make it four digits if you're really good. So
and speaking to Sean and some others out there, I do have, and I've talked to Paul Macbeth, and I've talked to Nate Doss, and I've talked to a number of players. I have a handful of what I think are really good ideas for whether it be off-season material or recycling certain material to do certain things with. I have what I think is a really great idea that I haven't shared with anyone, but
you shared it with me?
I did, but okay. It's a matter of going out and finding the resources and the time, because it's not just me and my resources. It's also the players as well, and it's just all a matter of making it work. I think we're gonna all get there. Mm-hmm. Amp says, I think originally I believe Sexton to be the better commentator on Jomez, but Big Germ sure is fun to listen to. Big Yuli was fun this weekend. Paul is dry with his delivery, and yeah, lots of different personalities that
Yuli likes to play the straight man in general, like in any sort of environment. Kind of a very
well. I mean, likes to call it as it is, and he doesn't beat around the bush. And
correct.
I love all of that.
He's a funny guy for sure, but he is your deadpan kind of straight man. So
all right, Big Germ and Macbeth are great. DG filming seems like a very delicate business. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you want to own a business, and this came up way back in the conversations about the women's side a few months ago. Someone could own the women's disc golf side of things for the most part. I mean, if somebody wanted to dedicate, dare I say, be the disc golf girl, so to speak, or go out and be exclusively focused, I think that's an area of opportunity somebody could practically own if they really put in the time, energy, and effort. And there's there's so many different angles, I think, of how people could still come into things and decide where they want to go with it. It's just a matter of who wants to do that, and how hard do you want to work, and how much do you not want to get paid for a while, and that's where we'll find out
in the coming years.
Yeah, who's passionate about it. Also, on the commentator side of things, when are you doing a boy-girl combo, or man-woman? Now it's dudes talk dudes, ladies talk ladies. I think as soon as we have, it's a great question.
Go ahead.
For starters, it's not intentional. We didn't.
It kind of is.
Okay, I guess it kind of is. But I'm saying if there was a woman that was good at it, which there are plenty, that wanted and had the time and availability to come join me, I would welcome a woman any day of the week. Like, I'd be great with that. We clearly have proven throughout these last few years there are plenty of women that I think would also make great commentators on the men's or women's side of things. So, to me, why I think you haven't seen it, at least from the live, why you haven't seen it from the live side is because the women are playing,
Yeah,
then their afternoons are off, and then then they go back and play the next day. But,
and like I said, we have seen a couple just recently, Emac and Denise.
correct. Emac and Denise on my channel.
Yeah, and then we saw Madison and Germ on a while ago.
We saw Tina and Eric on the final round of the Beaver State Fling. So
it's been done. It's
I'm
out
not
there.
saying I'm shattering ceilings here, but,
Good, because
but
you're
I'm
not.
not. No, but seriously, Eric and Tina were on my final round of the Beaver State Fling. Please, I just released it the other day. Go out and listen to that.
And as we said earlier, we're still in the phases of learning people who can and can't do it, who is good and who is not. And just because two people aren't good together doesn't mean they're not going to be good with somebody else.
That too.
Well,
I don't want to talk divorce here, but
you throw, let's just say Terry and Yuli together, and they're no good. But you put Yuli and Paige Bjorkis together, and they might be gold.
Correct.
You just don't know until you find that right combo. Big Germ seems to be very popular and seemingly good. To me, as I joked with Ian and I were talking today about someone was complaining about their sound quality of their commentators, how it's loud and quiet. And I said, hey, if you want, I'm here. I know Audition. I can help level that out for you, or at least show you how it's done. And I forget where I was going with this. What were we talking about?
sound quality and commentators and various people releasing videos and commentary teams.
I forgot where I was going.
Okay.
I had a whole long point.
Well, I mean, I think there's there are some challenges though. Maybe to follow where maybe you were going is there's some challenges because I've said it for the last few weeks, and I'll say it probably for the next 10 years. Remote or off-site commentary might be the death of me in terms of just frustration. Beaver State Fling, for instance, I've got 3 or 4 tournaments right now that are ready to be released, but because I'm pandering to the idea of me not being on it, which I'm okay with not being on it, the problem is when I'm not on it with one other person, it just delays the whole process. Like, that's the big problem right now. Like, I've got the final round of the Quad Cities Rumble put together. I've got the final round of the Minnesota Amateur Championships put together. And I can continue to have more and more golf put together, but getting the teams, when I'm not on the road with them, getting the teams to then do it and then have good sound quality is a massive...
Yes.
It may be the death of me. That's I've said it all this year because I've done it all this year. You know, getting home from the Pro Tour event and then having women commentators at the time commentate over stuff. Unless I'm dealing with ladies of the chain, so I just hand them a video and then they give me the best video back ever or the best audio quality back ever because they have 3 women that are sitting in studio, and then Becca is a genius. She's a sound engineer, teacher genius. So she can do all of that stuff, and she hands me back a file, and it's perfect. Everyone that's not her, it just adds it adds a layer. I'll use a layer, but the layer is that complicated, and it just makes it really. And I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining that if you're not getting the commentary on site that night or that next day, and when you try and get it remotely a day or 2 or 4 or a week later, it trust me, it's just been miserable. So that's kind of, it's not a soapbox or a rant, but it's a challenge. It's a legitimate challenge on my part. And I feel bad because I wanted Beaver State Fling to be out a few days earlier, not a month well, there wasn't a month, but I wanted it to be out a few days earlier, and we just kept, the teams and the people and the travel, and then this person does have internet or this person's not awake, and then this person, it's just, there's a lot of challenge to it.
Do you see do you guys see in the future there being more NTs, or the schedule already too tight, or could the PDGA make the players choose between Pro Tour and NT?
I know some of this.
Oh, I think that's a possibility, and I don't know anything. I think that's a possibility in the future that you could see a conflict between a Pro Tour and a National Tour event. But I do feel right now that the two are working pretty well hand in hand, and that they're going to, for the near future and hopefully next year, work together to schedule their events. Say, hey, this is kind of the tour. These are the NTs. These are the Pro Tour events. Do we have any scheduling conflicts? Let's try to work them out to give the players a nice, as smooth as possible tour. Other than that, I don't know if we'll see many more NT events. I think I said it last week, I think they hit a pretty good number with 6. I don't think you'll see them go above 6, and I don't think you'll see them go below 5.
Yeah, and I'll say there was a conversation just this weekend about the 2019 schedule. I know Steve Dodge is obviously working on the Pro Tour schedule. The PDGA is working on the National Tour schedule. And hopefully there's nothing but cohesion there so that everything can work out and make sense. Because that's the last thing I think any of us want to see is the two go head-to-head and be in competition with each other on the same weekend. Now, you could argue one maybe a little further away or a little more out of the way for one weekend to the next.
Sure.
That could happen, of course. But it's hopefully everyone is symbiotic, if that's a good word for it, can work together and make it happen. So that's what we're all planning and hoping for sure.
Any talk of the World Tour coming back?
Here's what, not talk that I've heard. I'm also deaf in one ear, so
if they were talking on the other side,
then maybe I'd hear about it. No, but the other night I was digging through my Instagram looking for a particular one from one of my daughters, and I came across one of my Instagrams, and it was Paul Macbeth pulling the drape off of the World Tour logo at the USDGC, and UC saying, "This is the next tour," or whatever he said, something along those lines, and it just. I just reminisce, like, wow, that it got released at the USDGC. That was the big news. I think we had him on the podcast later that night or the next day. I think that night.
Yeah.
We had him and we talked about it a little bit. But outside of me reminiscing through Instagram, no, I haven't heard any talks of it.
No, and I don't think we're going to see it next year.
Well, I was just going to say, when's the deadline? When is the deadline before we see it?
Here's the thing. If it's not announced to come back by 2020, I don't think you're going to see it. In Disc Golf World Tour, you could see UC... I could see UC doing a different type of tour, like the European Tour, or calling it... Who knows what he would call it, because I know they already have the ETP.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see him doing something a little different. I don't think it would be called the Disc Golf World Tour unless they felt like, oh, it's been long enough where we can reuse this name and it's not associated with this tour that didn't work out for us, or that didn't do what they had planned on. I don't think you're going to see... I think if you don't see it by 2020, I wouldn't count on it again, personally. But who knows?
Well, so here's my real question,
He has
though.
the name, so
Yeah.
he could always reuse that in the future. Would it be the same thing, though, is the question.
Here's my big question. As we just got done talking about 2019 from an NT and a Pro Tour side of things, if he plans at all to come back for 2019, which I have no idea, but if he does, he has to be talking about those events and that schedule now as well.
Correct.
Because you can't set the NT in the Pro Tour or the Pro Tour in the NT schedule along with all the other major schedules, barring that they are or aren't majors, but you can't set that schedule and then come in after the fact.
Not true.
And expect people to succumb to it.
He can piggyback.
Correct.
He's done that in the past with the NTs and the majors. Just more or less said, okay, this is a really good event. We would like to piggyback on that event and call it a World Tour event. And basically, the tournament is already set up, is already established. Now it is also a World Tour event.
Okay.
So that would be a way.
That's the way he could.
That's the way he could do it. Do I think he will? Not next year. I personally don't think.
So what would you say? I'll say my original question with it is, when would you say is the absolute deadline that we should expect to hear if he has any inclination to come back in 2019 or any plans of it? When will you officially write that off as yes or no?
If I don't hear by the end of USDGC week.
Okay.
Similar to what he had done. If I don't hear anything by USDGC, I will make a very flat claim that he is not going to do anything for
2019.
For 2019 with the Disc Golf World Tour.
Okay.
UC is doing 100 other things.
Of course. All right. So I think that good question. Exactly like what Steve Dodge does for some or all of the majority of the events. All those events were set as good events for the most part, right? Not like they are new events.
His first year was set that way. Dodge's first year, more or less.
Yep. Minnesota, Silver Cup, Vibram.
Ledgestone, right?
And Ledgestone. Those all existed as tournaments. Yes, correct. So there was nothing new. I would say the only new. Well, now there's kind of two.
The next year, I mean,
San Francisco,
well,
brand new event.
Correct. San Francisco is a brand new event, but he put Idlewild on the map. Idlewild
Which, correct,
was a good course and had an okay tournament, but it wasn't anything other than probably a decent B tier, maybe an A tier. I don't know the history of Idlewild that well, but
they've had good events there, but nothing obviously.
But nothing that's that big of a draw. And of course, the Tour Championship, if you want to count that.
Yep. And then also Jonesboro. Jonesboro was truly a unique event, or truly an original event in the sense that it came out of nowhere is really a good way to put it. And I feel like it hasn't disappointed whatsoever. Utah has had some high payout, high reputation events the year or two before
they were just not sanctioned.
The Pro Tour. They just weren't sanctioned, and that wasn't their focus. So, and Green Mountain Championships had existed as an event prior to the Pro Tour coming along, and I think it'll always now exist as a really high level event.
Certainly,
as well. So,
is Steve Dodge and the Pro Tour governed by the PDGA, or is the Pro Tour their own entity? Steve Dodge owns the Pro Tour.
Correct. He
is the, so to speak, the president, CEO, whatever you want to call it. He works in conjunction with the PDGA, but at any given point he could, and I'm going to say he could basically take his ball and go home. And say, okay, I'm going to run these events. They're not going to be PDGA sanctioned. I'm going to run these on my own and not have anything to do with the PDGA. I don't think that's the path he's going on.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain he's working very well with the PDGA as of recently, but he could do that. It is his entity, and like I said, he could take his ball and go home if he chose.
Sure,
to.
Absolutely. Also, so the national tour is a product of the PDGA's. It may be this entity, but it is a PDGA owned entity, whereas the Pro Tour is not. So I think we've covered that. Chris Young from Vermont says you can almost guarantee GMC will be back on the Pro Tour next year, unless we have some. No, I'd love to be back there. I think another tour needs to take place in another hemisphere during our winter and off season. The only problem with that, is our players are now to a point where they're taking that much needed and well-deserved break during our off season. Now, clearly, you'll get some players to go play, and clearly there's other hemispheres that matter and should be covered, and maybe you don't even care about our players going there. And I'm good with other players around the world having the spotlight on them, and I think that would be awesome. But if your hopes are okay, well then Paul Macbeth will be playing 6 out of 8 weekends overseas, and he'll be playing and traveling to all these other countries during our winter months. That's not going to happen. Most of our players have now gotten very comfortable in terms of essentially putting their disc down for a few months and recovering and
it would be interesting to see another tour on another side of the country
or globe
another side of the globe with new names. Maybe you're not going to get the same caliber of player, because it's, to no one's surprise, the United States has the higher quality caliber of player. You just said
that.
I did. Look at the player ratings. But
we looked at those on the top of the show.
Oh, did you? But Europe right now has a very good and budding scene. It would be kind of awesome to see a European tour from I don't know if it could be European, so to speak. It would almost have to be Southern Hemisphere, not Northern Hemisphere, because if you're going to look at the opposite side of the temperature, I don't want to see snow golf in December and January. But that's the time. If you could get some sort of Southern Hemisphere golf tournament going, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
the problem is it's just there's just not the player base yet.
Yep. And I think we will see some of that continue to develop, but again, you would see some of our players go dabble maybe at an event or two, dabble in some of those off-season events in another part of the world or something like that, if they were really drawn into it for some reason or another, but you're not going to see a lot of them traveling. And there's just a flat out expense to it that would be prohibitive of doing that too. I do feel disc golf needs a Grand Slam series or a series of major tourneys that used to crown a world champion. I don't want to say those are just semantics, but I mean, like,
we talked about this last week as far as world championship versus tour versus
I mean versus winning one of our majors. There's a lot of different ways to look at that. Most PGA players only play the Open in Europe, PDGA and PDGA Europe. No need for a world tour yet. And again, I'll go as far as saying UC very much confused me in the sense that he didn't consider that a world tour because he thought players would all tour internationally as much as he wanted disc golf, high level disc golf events in these individual countries that had a collective goal. So somehow those two are a little bit different. And I don't know if I fully wrap my head around it. But it depends on what your objective truly is. And I think that's what matters.
Don Jalapeno asks, if a player is suspended by the PDGA, could they still play in a pro tour event if allowed? Not currently, because they are sanctioned events. They're PDGA sanctioned events. Now, if they could play if he didn't sanction the tour championship for some reason,
not like last year, he almost didn't.
Yeah, like he almost didn't.
That would be a different.
That'd be 2 years ago, but
that would be a different story for a different reason. But yes, right now all disc golf pro tour events are A tiers. I'll just end it there. Are A tiers. Therefore, they are upheld to all PDGA A-tier rules, regulations, and standards. So that's the short answer is yes. Good night, Country Disc Golf. Thanks for everything you're doing. I think I saw some of the new graphics you're working on. I envy the concept of you making your own new graphics, but I don't envy the work or the brain power required. So good luck. He's putting together his own After Effects stuff, testing some stuff out. He posted it in the media group.
Oh, did he? I'll stick with that. I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, so good luck is what I'll say. And when you get really good, then I'll just hire you to make mine.
I would say, at least 8 different versions I've thrown at you, and that you haven't decided on. B, none of that are really that great, that really knock the socks off.
Yeah.
And I'm not a graphics guy. I'm more of a utility kind of guy. So,
Chris says if the money was there and the courses or event were high quality, a Southern Hemisphere tour would get players. Just got to get a big sponsor or 3. Believe me, if first was 10 grand, they would come. To some degree, I believe that. But we're also witnessing, and I'll say things like this, like the South Florida Open last year, to me, was a really good event in Florida in December. That still wasn't enough to draw most of our players down to it. And of course, it was geographic, and it was a little bit of time. Money does, of course, entice a ton of our players, but I also think of the Mango Classic a couple of years ago. They put in an absurd amount of added cash, but it was the weekend right after the USDGC, and a lot of players said, I don't care how much money is there. Only a couple went and took advantage of it. So I totally agree. Money is a very good right now driving force, but it's still not the end-all, be-all. Some players will just opt out. There was an unsanctioned event in Idaho that paid out $5 grand for first place, and I remember Paul Macbeth was like, I don't care, it's not sanctioned. And that was his priority.
Yeah.
So obviously others have other priorities and think that's great.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to unfold. Right now, we're at a point where you need to have a lot of things clicking for you. Either you need to be on one of these tours that you're in a points race, or there's certain things that go along with it. You need to probably have a decent or a pretty good course. You need to have a pretty good payout. If you cater to and go above and beyond to your players, and that gets around, that's going to certainly help you. You need to be geographically within route of the weekend before and the weekend after. So you have to make some geographic sense. There's just a lot of factors I get that question a lot is, what is it going to take to get Paul Macbeth or a Ricky or a Katrina or a Paige Pierce to my event? And then they tell me the weekend and or location, and I kind of shrug, and I'm like, it's not happening for you probably. It's just not. You can no longer 10 years ago you could waive $500 in front of a lot of players and they'd be like, yeah, I'll be there. You're gonna pay my entry fee and give me a $500 for going there.
Now $500.
It's just not what it used to be.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be for these pros. They're not as desperate for the cash. A lot of them have Tour Series discs, which will make them that in a few weeks. So it's not for them to spend that extra money and go out of the way is not realistic for them.
You know, do you have an opportunity for them to host a clinic and then maybe make a little extra coin hosting a Thursday night clinic, and then on top of that they're allowed, you know, by the event and by law to then set up and then maybe sell their goods for the next 2 to 4 hours. You know, those are all some creative ways that make it more enticing for some of our players to be there, because they start putting all those pieces together and say, okay, yeah, being at this event with these opportunities is going to be worth it for me. Oh, and you know, on Sunday night or Monday night, you know, you have someone that's going to take us parasailing. Like, those are all the kinds of things that, you know, I don't want to say we just got to keep stepping up our bribe game, but you know,
what you do.
You got to win them over somehow. All right. I think I'm ready to call it.
I'm good with that.
I think Johnny's ready to call it. We appreciate you guys being patient and tuning in tonight. We had a relatively regular setup, actually. Of course, we missed Dynamite.
Why do we even have all this extra stuff?
I know.
I mean,
someone had said this is the future. I'm like, yeah. Like, this isn't hard. I mean, gosh. Just you know, put the phone up. But yes, that's why everything was backwards, because we were using the phone tonight, and audio quality probably isn't quite to scale of what we're used to. I hope it's not, because that means all this other stuff is a waste. So I hope I hope it is usable, and that you guys enjoyed your time and it was still a lot of fun. So I think we're good. We appreciate it. What we'll do is next week we will have 2 Patreon supporter giveaways. So what that does, some of you should be really mad, because then you have less opportunity, because there might be new people. And some of you should be excited because you think, I wasn't a Patreon supporter last week. I'm going to make sure I am by next Tuesday.
I've got a disc member box for next week.
And I've got some other stuff. So we'll give away two, count them, 2 giveaways next week. Look, totally random. Look for IGTV. I'm excited to check out the new Instagram TV app opportunity. Some are saying it might be a big deal. So if there's anyone that wants to be a big deal, it's me. I try so hard to do it, and I fail. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Of course, I can't even say, of course, next week will be normal. We need to talk about it. You want to talk about it now? Next Tuesday is the 3rd.
The 3rd of July.
I don't know if there's going to be any 4th of July obligations or not. It's the night before I'll leave to go to Michigan. I think we'll have a normal night.
Sounds like
I know a lot of things are kind of weird next Tuesday and Wednesday due to the holiday, but we should probably have a normal show for you next week.
We will.
We'll figure things out, and then we'll get it posted, but we do appreciate it. For Johnny V, part-time, for Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, thank you guys for tuning in. 201 was great for at least half of it. I appreciate you guys sticking with us and tuning in, and next week we'll be back. Same bat time, bat channel, bat everything, bat equipment, all that stuff. We'll see you then next week. Do that, and then